Can you guys hear me? It's John Schaefer.
Thanks, heavens, my hands.
I gotta get the gavel. Just in case. Let's see who I can. If everybody would take your seats. We'll get underway. I see we have a lot of people who I'm thinking are interested in making public comments, so let's get our meeting started. This is the May 5th, 2026 meeting of Middleton's Common Council. City Administrator Gata, would you please help us with the roll?
Alder Shaver,
Here, online.
Alder Madden,
Here.
Alder Baines,
Here.
Mayor Hanairo,
Here.
Alder Nelson,
Here.
Alder Myers, Alder Opitz,
Here.
Alder Ulmerman,
Here.
Alder Crow.
Here.
Thank you. We'll start with public comments. Please note that you're limited to 3 minutes per speaker and the city administrator will be timing. So when your time is up, I will ask you to wrap it up, just to make sure everybody else has a fair chance. Council President Katie Nelson is going to call up the individual speakers. No, they can still submit. Yes, please fill out the slip in the back. We're working on it. We'll get them. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
If I mispronounce any names, please forgive me and correct me. When you come up, please give your name and your address. And I will try to also keep time and I'll give you a little wrap it up symbol when it's getting close. First up is Liz Dingwall.
Thanks for letting me speak early. I have to go put my kids to sleep. So, hello, my name is Liz Dingwall. I live at 1726 Aurora Street. My house is surrounded by 5 proposed plots for the TIF District 7, plots 46, 47, 48, 49, and 50. That would make half of my house surrounded by possible TIF district. I do not support the changes to the map, which would add plot 47 and 50. Plot 47 is a piece of conservancy. Plot 50 is a single residential house currently owned by New Year Investment, who is patiently looking to build a 5-story apartment complex here. I would also like to see the entirety of Quarry Hill Conservancy removed from TIF District 7. I understand that there could be financial benefit from keeping 5 acres in the conservation land within the TIF district. I understand that adding plots 47 and 50 could increase funding for future projects in this area. However, they have not in the past. And these possible financial benefits do not outweigh the potential risk for future development of this conservancy. And this risk is real. That's why so many people are here advocating against these map changes and wanting the conservancy to be taken off of the map. Unfortunately, the local government has sown seeds of distrust within our neighborhood over the past 2 years. Lisa, you yourself have been on record in this very room stating that you want the entire south side of Terrace Ave to be built up and non-residential. In a lot of our eyes, this is the first step on your agenda to get this done. We would love for you to prove us wrong. But in order for our community to feel supported and understood, there needs to be reassurance in both actions and words. You are our elected officials, sworn to serve us. So why don't you listen to our ideas to enrich our community? Our neighborhood is saying we don't need or want any more apartments. It would be great if our local government decided to use some of these TIF district funds to actually take care of the conservancy in our neighborhood that has been neglected for 30 years. Or maybe buy back Vern's plot to create an interactive nature center that would be a hub to connect visitors to all wonderful outdoor resources that we have available in Middleton. Thank you.
Next up is Ann Johnson.
And then after Ann. Let the next person know that they're,
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Next person will be Kyle Dumbleton after Ann. Just to give you a heads up.
Hello, my name is Ann Johnson. I live at 1720 Aurora Street, and I am here in opposition to the drafted maps for proposed TID District 7 and 8, specifically the inclusion of the entire Quarry Hill Conservancy in areas 45, 46, and 47. I would also like to mention the inclusion of areas 48 and 50, which are zoned as two-family residential, one of which has a single-family home built on it right now. As a resident living off of Terrace Ave, I can say with complete confidence and total sincerity, our neighborhood has lost enough of itself to development and tall buildings containing unoccupied, unaffordable apartments. We'd like to now be left alone to raise our families free of more intensified traffic, pollution, and commercial real estate encroaching on our lives. I am also the vice president of the Friends of Quarry Hill Conservancy, a 501c4 nonprofit group dedicated to the protection and restoration of the last true green space in downtown Middleton. This beautiful hill of historic white oaks deserves your attention to preserve it, not to level it, thus eradicating the significant amount of wildlife, plants, and special Middleton history it contains. Please remove areas 45, 46, 47, 48, and 50 from this drafted TID proposal. These are not blighted areas in need of development. These are necessary, natural spaces home to diverse habitats that contribute to the unique character and special significance of Middleton and all of its residents. Thank you.
Next up is Kyle Dumbleton, to be followed by David Bell.
Evening, Kyle Dumbleton, Director of Architecture, Engineering, and Construction for Culvers. Speaking on behalf of Culvers tonight, so I reside at W7423 West North Shore Drive in Portage. So we are looking to relocate the existing Culvers to the north at the corner of Parmenter and Lisa. And, you know, primarily the reasons for that would be to enhance the on-site circulation for our guests and our team members, and also EMS services. We'd like to, you know, just fit better within the community, which we've been a large part of for almost 25 years. And would entertain any questions you have, but are in support of the way that Plan Commission reacted to our proposal last week or 2 weeks ago. So thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
Next, followed by Angie Harris Ostrom.
I'm David Bell. I live at 1625 Middleton Street. Been there for over 35 years. I'm speaking in opposition to the proposed TIF stuff there, and I'd like to echo what's been said by the previous people and add a few things. One is parking in downtown Middleton is horrible, and this would make it worse, as succinctly put that. And this area, this beautiful little conservancy here is so important. We just can't let it be paved over, which is essentially what would be happening, because our planet needs more breadth, not more pavement. So I urge you to defeat this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Angie Harris Ostrom, to be followed by Jeff Broderick. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Angie Harris Ostrom. I am here as a member of the Friends of Quarry Hill Conservancy Organization. Our concern is in regards to the proposed new TIF districts, specifically number 7, which includes Quarry Hill Conservancy. If taxpayer dollars are used responsibly by the city to make needed improvements to Quarry Hill Conservancy, then these TIF dollars are well spent and have been spent responsibly. I doubt many Middleton taxpayers would argue that fact. On the flip side, if taxpayer dollars are given to a developer whose proposed 5-story apartment building includes blasting into a hill that is home to the Conservancy, I highly doubt many Middleton constituents, regardless of their district, will be happy their tax dollars were given and spent so irresponsibly for yet another apartment building. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Brodick. I live at 7600 Terrace Avenue. My wife and I have lived there for the last 4 years. I'm a member of the Conservancy organization that you visited, seen many members speak so far. We've enjoyed the view of the hillside. It's a beautiful green space. Everybody on the Friends realizes that the Vern site needs to be developed, but it needs to be done appropriately. And we think that is small over tall. So I just leave you with that thought, small over tall for the redevelopment. How that plays into the TID is for you to decide. But we're ultimately here because of the concern over the big building. Small over tall, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is John Bechtel, to be followed by Mary Bechtel.
Thank you for letting me go first. I wouldn't want to follow my daughter. That'd be tough. Hey, first of all, welcome to newly elected members on the council, and thank you to returning members for keep coming back. I know you wonder why you do that sometimes. In 2006, Middleton won by a nationwide publication, Best Small City in 2006. And a large part of that was a ratio of population to park and conservancy land. Since that time, the population of Middleton has grown about 40%, but the park and conservancy lands have not. The 2025 to 2030 draft conservancy plan on the city website does list Quarry Hill as a conservancy property, but right now the current list, it is not included, and it has been rezoned several years ago, or a couple of years ago, it was zoned conservancy, and now it's zoned institutional. So I question how and why that happened. No one that lives near the conservancy was notified of that. So we, like an answer on that. Obviously, I'm concerned, like you've heard other speakers, that a developer owns several parcels next to the conservancy and wants to build a large apartment complex there. The city makes a lot of efforts with the no lights for migrating birds, the no mow May, don't leave the lakes and that, but to build a giant apartment complex next to a conservancy that will drive out all the wildlife that's there. Deer, turkeys, a variety of birds, including raptors, small birds, not to mention all the butterflies, insects, all that sort of thing, including predators that control the bunny population and other rodents that eat my wife's garden. That's very important, and it's something that we value and would like to keep. So please keep that in mind as you're looking at future development. I know this right now is in the draft TIF district, and I, of course, like other residents of the area, are concerned about what the future plans are. So just please consider that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Could you state your address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, 7709 Hillcrest Avenue.
Thank you. Next is Mary Bechtel, to be followed by Ann Brodak.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mary Bechtel, and I'm here tonight representing myself, a current homeowner on North Avenue in District 3 and former resident of Hillcrest Avenue in District 1. I'm here to ask that our common council members acknowledge the concerns of those speaking tonight and consider removal of Quarry Hill Conservancy from the proposed tax incremental District 7. However this conversation proceeds, please understand that the discussion of Quarry Hill Conservancy deserves more nuanced discussion compared to general public lands that might benefit from funding and their inclusion in a TIF district. I understand that the new trailhead on Century and Pheasant Branch Conservancy will receive some TIF funding. However, most of us who are here tonight became activated in such a concerted way because Quarry Hill Conservancy has faced and continues to face threats to development. It is my understanding that these maps are likely to be changed before adoption and that inclusion within a tax increment district does not automatically mean that a parcel will be redeveloped. There is simply distrust between residents and the city when it comes to promises made. Comments about how this particular area of the city should have been zoned for mixed-use downtown and multi-use developments immediately after the city's 20-year comprehensive plan was made, followed by immediate requests for rezoning from the developer and property owner on Terrace Avenue, were more than entertained by some that are currently sitting on this council. That is the reason many of us are here right now. If removing Quarry Hill Conservancy from TID number 7 keeps it safer than gambling with the city on whether or not it will remain a conservancy at all, then I ask you to consider removal. Thank you. Yep, 6912 North Avenue. Thank you.
Ann Brodick, to be followed by Julie Waldron.
Hi, my name is Ann Brodick. I live at 7600 Terrace Avenue with my husband, Jeff. We are renters, but boy, do we love that Quarry Conservancy. That when this issue first arose, I remember looking at what was involved and thinking, this is an environmental corridor. You cannot develop an environmental corridor, especially ones with such steep hills. Erosion is a huge concern. But more than that, it's the green space. It's something that we all agreed many years ago in the comprehensive plan, not that long ago, actually, that was going to remain a conservancy and an environmental corridor. I don't know why we're thinking about changing our minds, but I think it's the wrong thing to do. It's the wrong direction for Middleton. Middleton is known for its green spaces. We've been all around, and this is such a special spot. And these people all know, they've been here way longer than we have. I think that this is not something that where money should be the ruling factor. I know it's a bit, it usually is, always is, but the environment cannot pay you. The environment is not going to produce income. I mean, it's good for the world, yes, but we have the obligation, the responsibility to protect those green lands. They can't protect themselves. Thank you.
Next up is Julie Waldron, to be followed by Susan West.
Hello, my name is Julie Waldron. I live at 7704 Hillcrest Avenue. I'm also a member of the nonprofit 501c4 organization Friends of Quarry Hill Conservancy. I'm here to speak about miscellaneous agenda item number 4, the TID district. I'm highly concerned that the entire Quarry Hill Conservancy lands are included in the draft of TID number 7. Why would conservancy lands be marked for developers to use taxpayer dollars to develop on? As you may know, our organization grew out of a grassroots effort. It includes Middleton residents from many districts who want to protect, restore, and preserve this conservancy land. Our group has already begun many efforts such as cataloging birds and other wildlife, as well as native plants such as Trillium, conducting community cleanups, removing invasives, educating the community about this former oak savanna, and planting native plants from the Plant Dane program. We would like to work with the city to remove more invasives and increase public access to this special ecological treasure. Our organization strongly opposes the conservancy lands being included in the new TID number 7. Any wooded areas that are undeveloped should be protected and removed from the TID. I'm also concerned about development at the conservancy's borders because it would have a detrimental effect of noise pollution, light pollution, damaging the geologic structure of the hill, and disrupting ecosystem balance. Please join us in preserving this unique urban canopy that is beloved by the community and provides important biodiversity to our area. Mayor Hanero is big on promoting infill development and campaigned on the slogan, "Tall over sprawl." We also know she wants to expand the downtown to the entire south side of Terrace Avenue. However, I believe that we should be thoughtful about taking into account the important historical and ecological significance of this conservancy and the historic homes that surround it. We should listen to the community that has come together to protect it. Our group would be more than happy to talk with any of you if you'd like to learn more about our efforts. Thank you.
After Susan West will be Janet Stakes. Please help me. Yeah. I apologize. There we go. After that will be Bill O'Connell.
Okay, I'm Susan West. I live at 3542 John Muir Drive in Middleton Hills. I've been a resident in Middleton since 1999. And one of the first things that I did when I moved to Middleton with Penny Klein, our former public lands manager, was to clear the oak savanna in Middleton Hills, which was right next to my house. Full of buckthorn, you couldn't see 6 inches into it. That's what got me into politics. I served on conservancy land starting in 2002 and have been off a couple of years and now back on it. I very strongly support the Friends of Quarry Hill on what they're trying to do. And something they haven't mentioned, there's a couple of things. One, this is a true oak savanna. Wisconsin was an oak savanna before it was settled by the white people. Now there is approximately 1%, very little oak savanna still left. And this truly is that. This is more of an oak savanna than the oak savanna in Middleton Hills, just looking at the native plants on the ground in addition to the oak trees. So for historical reason, we should not include this in the TIF district. It needs to be restored as a conservancy. It needs to have input from the state DNR. It needs to have input from the Ho-Chunk Nation. The residents around there have found arrowheads, pieces of pottery, what might be some sort of council ring or something of an arrangement of huge rocks in a circle. That doesn't happen naturally very easily. This is an incredibly special area. And I would like to say the people that are working on it are very, very dedicated. I started helping them last year when they came before Conservancy Lands wanting to plant plants from Dane County. I went over there the day they planted. They were very eager to. There is some brush that needs to be cleared out, but nowhere near like what we have in Middleton Hills. And they are very committed to this. The other thing that I see, this is a natural area that is close to the downtown. The people that live in the apartments downtown don't have easy access to a conservancy. They have to go all the way across town. So this would be a fantastic addition in addition to being, preserving a very special place historically. I think that's, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
After Bill O'Connell is Mary O'Connell.
My name is Bill O'Connell, 704 Raymond, Wanakee. I'm here to represent our property, O'Connell's Good Neighbor at 3311 Parmenter. We have rebuilt a property that was a blight and an eyesore. We put hundreds of thousands of dollars into repair and improvements. The engineer on the plan that they had painted a worst case scenario on a section that has had 0 problems at the intersection and could create a possible U-turn problem in front of Lake Ridge Bank and the Trotta. I presented multiple options and so did Culver's, whatever is our last meeting, so I don't need to go into that. I handed out DMV vehicle counts that show we have the lowest density of vehicles in front of our business of any of the major roads, including Century, Allen, University, and Parmenter roads. Every business on these 4 roads that have higher traffic counts than us have access to a left turn. We believe we are a good neighbor. We believe we've done everything the city has asked us to do. We donate to moms, we donate to the Humane Society, and we personally donate to Second Harvest. We are in support of the Plan Commission's recommendations to improve the intersection, but leave left turns up there. That was recommended 2 weeks ago. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. After Mary will be Jerry Jeffrey.
Good evening, council members. My name is Mary O'Connell. My husband and I are owners of O'Connell's Liquor at 3111 Parmenter Street. 14 years ago, we took a chance on this neighborhood. We didn't see broken windows, dusty floors, or an empty building that was vacant for 5 years and was doing nothing for the city of Middleton. We saw a neighborhood landmark waiting for a second chance. We saw a space with potential. We invested our money, time, hard work, did everything the city of Middleton asked us to do. We turned it into a successful, clean, and safe business that serves local residents and businesses. We are here today to strongly oppose the proposal that restricts left turns in and out of our parking lot. Our business relies on easy access for customers, delivery drivers, and salesmen. Everyone is busy, and if they can't conveniently enter or exit, they often won't go. Limiting my business to right in, right out only create a significant barrier, forcing customers to go out their way to turn around, which will directly reduce my sales and threaten the viability of our business we built for the past 14 years. We understand the city's goal to manage traffic, but it should not come at the expense of our thriving local business. We ask that you look at alternatives to the local turn ban or leaving as is. I want to keep this business thriving and not turn it back into a vacant lot. Please vote against the left turn restrictions at 3111 Parmenter Street. Support the small businesses that invested in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. After Jerry Jeffrey will be Christy Hughes.
Jeremy didn't ask to speak.
I'm sorry.
Christy Hughes, I'm speaking on behalf of Culvers. I'm the Senior Vice President of Development for Culvers, corporate headquarters located at 1240 Water Street in Prairie du Sac. Culvers has proudly been a part of the Middleton community since 1992. For over 3 decades, we've done more than serve better burgers and fresh frozen custard, although that's great. We've built relationships, we've created opportunities and invested in the people who make this city great. Today, we employ 70 of Middleton's finest young men and women that are starting their careers or seasoned professionals alike, providing job opportunities that support families and futures. In 2025 alone, we donated over $35,000 back to the city of Middleton and the members of this community. We're asking that you approve the recommendation of the City Council and allow the intersection of Parmenter and Lisa to remain as it exists today, with a commitment from Culvers to future changes should it be deemed necessary and safety becomes a true and proven situation. This is more to us than just building a restaurant. The Fitzgerald property has been a long-standing eyesore. We want to turn it into something that Middleton can be proud of. To put a brand new Culvers that will continue to serve, employ, and give back to this community that will provide a better and safer experience for our guests and our team members. This isn't just about a restaurant for us. It's about revitalizing a space, creating opportunity, and reaffirming our promise to Middleton. Culvers is here to stay. We're asking for your support, and we're here to make a difference. Thank you.
Are there any other people who would wish to speak?
Please remember to state you've got slips. Thank you.
3 minutes, remember to state your name and address. Edgar?
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Edgar Spalding. I live on 7417 South Avenue in District 2. Have done so for 32 years or so, and I'm here to speak against the inclusion of the Quarry Hill Conservancy in the proposed TID district map. It's a real head scratcher why it would be in there. Conservancy lands, reading off of the city's website, is conservancy lands are public lands managed for natural vegetation, habitat, water quality, and passive recreation. That's the city's definition. TID is a financial mechanism that will eventually pay for itself and put money into future good works. I don't see how a land that's managed for natural vegetation, habitat, and water quality, passive recreation, can serve any of the goals of the TID, unless it's not going to be used, unless that definition is not going to be stuck to, which makes us cynical that something like that might happen. I am Professor Emeritus of the UW-Madison Botany Department. I'm a member of the DNR's Aquatic Plant Management Plan Committee. I am the president of the Wisconsin Dragonfly Society. I'm played a role in the city's Conservancy Land Management Plan that just was completed 5 years ago, not because I inserted myself, but because at times the city asked for my expertise. And I'm currently helping the city reapply for its bird city status because I'm an avid bird watcher. So although this map doesn't affect my property, I live some distance from it. I mentioned my credentials because that shows my commitment to the environment. and my understanding of it. And I believe that at the heart of this is that the city doesn't really understand Quarry Hill Conservancy. Doesn't understand what the ecosystem is. I think they don't appreciate its distinctness, its uniqueness, and the role it plays in the downtown. I wish people had been there today to see the red-tailed hawk on its nest. That nest has been there for decades. To see the trilliums blooming, to see the neotropical migrant birds that have moved this spring from Central and South America who need those oak trees, who are foraging on those oak trees now on their way to their Canadian breeding grounds. I don't think the people who are drawing these maps have really understood what that property is and the role it plays in downtown Middleton. So don't include it if you're planning to use it as a managed for vegetation, habitat, and water quality in a financial vehicle for the city's economic goals. Thank you.
We'll have Karen Meinholz followed by. Pardon? All right. Go ahead. Good.
Hi, my name is Karen Meinholz and my husband and I own the Little Red Preschool, which is 7739 Terrace Avenue. We're entering our 28th year of owning the preschool. Looking up here, I'm noticing some parents of kiddos that have been there, as well as I'm looking in the audience, families that have had children at Little Red. Marv and I are definitely opposed to the Conservancy being included in the TIF. For multiple reasons, many that have already been stated, but I will talk about more of the impact for us and our property. So we serve children ages 2 to 11. The Conservancy is a huge part of our programming and of our themes. We even have our 2 and 3-year-olds able to recognize 12 different birds that are up in the Conservancy. They've listened, they've been able to identify. We've talked about habitats. We've talked about the animals that come and go from that particular space. And they are very, very invested. So it's pretty exciting to know that we have the next generation that maybe is even way above, ahead of all of us that are sitting here today. One of the things I actually brought up in a 4-year-old classroom was talking about the Conservancy and said that I was going to a meeting and that it was going to be grown-ups that were going to be discussing and talking and making decisions about that Conservancy. Would it stay like it is, where we could have the birds, have the animals, have the trees, have that education and observation and exposure, or it would be turned into buildings, kind of like what we see on the other side of Terrace Avenue. A 4-year-old little guy raised his hand and he said, "But Miss Karen, we already see enough buildings when we go on our walks. We look at the doors, we look at the roofs, we look at the windows when we do our shape hunting. We don't need any more of those buildings. We have enough. We want to be able to look up into the woods and to be able to see the animals and the trees and the nature area that we're learning about." And I thought, wow, this is a 4-year-old who is way ahead of, of decisions and things that need to be made. One of the things that we talk about in preschool, because up until that point, the world revolves around you, right? Kids, they have needs, they want their needs met. And so one of the things and values that we talk about in preschool is decisions that you make, behaviors that you have are starting to affect other people. And for most kids in preschool, this is a brand new concept. And one of the things, again, that we really, really talk about is decisions and how you behave and what you do affects the people around you, affects the people, your classmates, it affects the classroom, it affects the teacher, it affects the environment, it affects our community. And so if we're already pushing this with 4-year-olds about my decisions affect other people, again, if the city is deciding, hey, I'm looking in the Conservancy and I'm seeing ching dollars, I'm seeing that we can put, you know what? I'll take some of my husband's time. Marv, can I take some of your time? Okay.
I don't have any, oh, okay. I don't have
Okay,
a sheet.
thank
I
you.
didn't either.
We're on the same page. And so most of the time. And so Here, if we're teaching kids that decisions affect other people, right? Again, you guys are representing the entire Middleton community. And so if decisions that you are making that maybe are profitable, again, how is it for the neighbors? How is it for the neighborhood? How is it for the kids at the preschool? How is it for the historic district in the sense that 2 of our 3 buildings were built in the 1800s? I know that on Terrace, there's multiple homes that are. What's going to happen when the blasting starts? Would it even be safe to have our 200 children at preschool? Probably not. So again, very opposed to having the TIF, including the Conservancy. It is a huge educational area, not only for our new generation, but I also believe for a majority of our community as well. The decision needs to be what is right for the generations that are here now, as well as our upcoming generations. It can't be the dollar amount that ching-chings and makes decisions. Another note, I don't know if you checked with the school district. Young families with young children are not moving into Middleton. District numbers are plummeting significantly. Families cannot afford, when they're starting their family with young children, to afford Middleton. And so to think a 5-story luxury apartment is going to go in is not going to help or what the community needs. I really think you need to listen to the neighborhood and the people that are directly affected. And we're not only speaking for ourselves, we're speaking for Middleton as a community. You guys have the chance to do the right thing for kids and future generations. I believe in you.
Vicki Lester.
Vicki Lester. And then followed by
Is there anyone on Zoom?
Mr. Meinholz wanted to speak, right? Yeah.
Well, that was a hard act to follow, but I'm Vicki Lester. I live at 7606 Hillcrest Avenue. I've lived there for 51 years. And I just wanted to appeal to our home. What do we think of as our home? We think of it as the quality of life. That's what we think of. And so I just want to say that the Quarry Hill Conservancy is our quality of life for not just us, our children, our grandchildren. And that's mainly what I just wanted to appeal to. So thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Is there anyone online? All right, this will end the public comments section.
Okay, thank you all for making public comments. We really appreciate that. Members, without objection, I'd like to move my mayor's welcoming comments after the proclamations because we do have 5 proclamations and folks in the audience who probably need to get on with their evening. So we're going to start with the proclamation honoring the Meals Matter organization and recognizing a week against hunger in Middleton. And I'm going to read the proclamation and then I would like Rohan and Eli, thank you, to say a few words about their organization and the week. Okay. So this is the proclamation honoring the Meals Matter organization and recognizing a week against hunger in Middleton. Whereas Meals Matter is a student-led nonprofit dedicated to combating food insecurity while instilling lasting commitment to volunteerism in youth through activism and action. And whereas Meals Matter started in 2024 as a single chapter, Middleton Meals Matter, founded by 2 students from Middleton High School, and is now a growing movement fighting hunger and empowering youth to take action with 19 chapters in high schools across the United States and South Korea. Whereas Meals Matter coordinates monthly large-scale grocery store food drives that support Way Forward Resources, Second Harvest Food Bank of Southern Wisconsin, Sun Prairie Emergency Food Pantry, and the Caring Closet at Middleton High School, and its members regularly engage in hunger awareness education throughout our community. And whereas Meals Matter has collected 69,478 pounds of food valued at more than $132,000, along with $15,610 in funds for Way Forward resources. And whereas for their efforts, Meals Matter received the 2026 William R. Sims Award for Outstanding Youth in Philanthropy Group from the Association of Fundraising Professionals Foundation for Philanthropy on April 28th during the AFP Icon 2026, the world's largest gathering of fundraising professionals. And whereas Meals Matter is organizing a Week Against Hunger campaign from May 3rd through May 10th to bring students and communities together to take real action against food insecurity, organizing food drives, fundraisers, awareness campaigns, and volunteer events designed to both collect meals and educate people about how widespread hunger truly is. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Lisa Hanairo, Mayor of the City of Middleton, on behalf of the City Council and the residents of Middleton, do hereby congratulate Meals Matter on their exceptional achievement in receiving the 2026 William R. Sims Award for Outstanding Youth in Philanthropy Group. And be it further resolved that I hereby designate May 3rd through 10th, 2026 as Week Against Hunger in Middleton. And I encourage everyone in our community to do what they can to become more aware of the existence of hunger in Middleton and to help make sure no one in the Good Neighbor City goes hungry. This proclamation was adopted at a regular meeting of the Middleton Common Council on the 5th day of May 2026. May I have a motion?
Nelson, I'll move approval.
Myers, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the proclamation honoring the Meals Matter organization and recognizing a Week Against Hunger in Middleton signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The proclamation passes unanimously. And Rohan and Eli. Please say a few words.
Yes, well, thank you guys so much for having us, and thank you for all those wonderful words, Madam Mayor. Hunger is very real. It's affecting all the communities in our country, and especially our state and our local community as well. 1 in 10 people in the state of Wisconsin struggle with hunger, and 1 in 8 of those people are children under the age of 18. We see this hunger firsthand in our local communities, and this Week Against Hunger is not just about food, it's about showing up for one another, which is needed, especially in the world we live in today. Obviously, we are the Good Neighbor City, and this week is about honoring that, and it's about neighbors showing up for one another. We have a week filled with awesome activities, for our little ones, all the way up to people who want to just support our cause. Our goal is to raise $6.5 thousand this week, and happy to announce that we're almost a quarter of the way there already. It's only been a couple days in, and we're looking forward to grow and working with the city even more. So thank you so much.
Great, thank you both. And we'll get a picture. We are showing up. Council members have brought some food to donate. And we'll get a picture with all the council members, even if.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that's fine. And I would encourage all the city offices, please build a bin outside the suite.
Everybody ready?
Wait, I need the proclamation. I had fishing pantry.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll put it in the barrel.
Yep.
Young people are on this. All right. Thank you. Is everybody back? We're almost back. Thank you, Valerie. Okay, next is the proclamation recognizing Emergency Medical Services Week, May 17th through the 23rd. Is Alder Schaefer going to read, or shall we have the council president do it?
Can you hear me well enough?
If you speak up.
Okay, I'll get a little closer. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service that plays an official role in protecting the health, safety, and well-being of the Middleton community. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams in Middleton stand ready to provide life-saving care 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas the Middleton EMS provides high-quality, compassionate pre-hospital care across more than 20 square miles, responding to 2,800 plus calls for service annually. And whereas Middleton EMS is staffed by over 20 paramedics who bring advanced training, clinical expertise, and a deep commitment to serving residents, businesses, and visitors. And whereas those professionals not only respond in moments of crisis, but also support the health and resilience of the community through preparedness, education, and coordinated response with public safety partners. And whereas it is fitting and proper to recognize and honor the dedication, professionalism, and service of Middleton EMS personnel who care for our community each day. Now, therefore, Mayor Lisa Nairo and the Common Council of the City of Middleton do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th through 23rd, 2026 as Emergency Medical Services Week in the City of Middleton and encourage all residents to recognize and celebrate the dedicated individuals who provide this essential service. Be it further resolved that the City of Middleton joins communities across the nation in observing the 52nd anniversary theme, EMS Week, Improving Outcomes Together, which encourages appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities in honor of EMS professionals and the vital role they play in our community. This proclamation was adopted at a regular meeting of the Middleton Common Council on the 5th day of May, 2026.
Thank you, Alder Schaefer. Is there a motion?
Schaefer will move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Madden will second.
I'll let the city administrator decide. All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the proclamation of Emergency Medical Services Week, May 17th through 23rd, 2026, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Proclamation passes unanimously. Thank you. And we Yes, Chief is back there. Please bring everyone up. Yes.
I wish I were there. Congratulations.
All right, our next proclamation is a proclamation honoring National Travel and Tourism Week, May 3rd through 9th, 2026. And Alder Lorman will read this.
Thank you. Whereas Visit Middleton is committed to promoting the Good Neighbor City as an ideal destination for leisure travelers, events planners, and sports tourism in order to boost the local hospitality industry, highlight attractions, drive economy growth, and expand tourism. And whereas travel enables success for all industries and will continue to be a critical part of the city of Middleton's economy, development, workforce. And whereas with the combined efforts of tourism, marketing, and Middleton's hospitality community, the city has attracted visitors for groups, tourism, leisure, conferences, events, and sports, fueling a significant boost of the local economy, with visitors spending growth to 206.9 million in 2024. According to the most recent Tourism Economics Report. And whereas employment in Middleton's hospitality industry accounted for 1,720 jobs in 2024 and more than 64 million in labor income. And whereas Middleton's hotel tax revenue for 2025 amounted to more than 2.3 million, surpassing the 2024 record by 2.5%. And whereas 30% of Middleton's lodging room tax collection is contributed to the city's general fund to support essential services and programs. And whereas Visit Middleton provides marketing and promotional services across the tri-state region at no cost to city attractions and businesses, as well as allocating $244,000 towards grants, sponsorships, and travel shows to increase business at Middleton hotels, properties, and boost the local economy. And whereas U.S. Travel's National Travel and Tourism Week highlights the powerful role travel plays in driving our local economy, strengthening communities, and connecting people across the country. Now, therefore, Lisa Hanairo, Mayor of the City of Middleton, on behalf of the City Common Council and residents of Middleton, do hereby proclaim May 3rd through 9th, 2026 as a National Travel and Tourism Week in Middleton, Wisconsin, and urge citizens of the City of Middleton to join in recognizing the critical role this industry plays in our city. This proclamation was adopted at a regular meeting of the Middleton Common Council on the 5th day of May 2026. May I have a motion? I will be happy to make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Myers.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the proclamation honoring National Travel and Tourism Week, May 3rd through 9th, 2026, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? You guys have it. Is anyone here to receive it?
I think Mari's here.
Is Mari here?
Mari's
Here she is. Okay, great.
Did you want to make any remarks?
Yeah, proclamation number 4, recognizing Older Americans Month, May 2026, Champion Your Health. And our representative on the Commission on Aging, Alder Mark Opitz, will read this one.
Okay. Whereas the City of Middleton is proud to recognize May 2026 as Older Americans Month, honoring the older adults who enrich our community through their experience, service, and continued engagement in civic and community life. And whereas Middleton's older adults are essential to the fabric of our community, serving as volunteers, mentors, advocates, and neighbors who help strengthen connections across generations. And whereas the 2026 theme, Champion Your Health, emphasizes the importance of prevention, wellness, self-advocacy, and informed decision-making as key components of maintaining independence and quality of life. And whereas the Middleton Senior Center plays a vital and trusted role in advancing these goals by coordinating programs and services that help older adults maintain their dignity and independence while providing meaningful educational, social, and recreational opportunities. And whereas the Senior Center serves as a central hub for information, resources, and referrals for older adults and their families, ensuring residents can access the support they need to live safely, actively, and independently in Middleton. And whereas the accreditation of the Middleton Senior Center by the National Institute of Senior Centers and the Wisconsin Association of Senior Centers reflects the city's commitment to high-quality services and a strong standard of care for our aging population. And whereas the City of Middleton remains committed to being an age-friendly community that supports healthy aging through strong partnerships, accessible programs, and a shared responsibility to ensure all residents can thrive at every stage of life. Oh, now therefore, you weren't ready. Now therefore, Lisa Haniro, Mayor of the City of Middleton, on behalf of the council and the residents of Middleton, does hereby proclaim May 2026 as Older Americans Month in the City of Middleton and encourage all residents to recognize and celebrate the contributions of older adults, support programs and services that promote healthy aging, and take meaningful steps to champion their health and well-being. This proclamation was adopted at a regular meeting of the Common Council on the 20th day of April, or actually, it should read on the 5th day of May, 2026.
Thank you, Alder Opitz. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the proclamation recognizing Older Americans Month, May 2026, champion your health, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Tammy, we'll get a different, printed version. Oh, and the folder's been corrected. No, that's, we'll just take it that works.
What do you, I just have the, oh, sorry, okay, sorry.
Thank you.
And here I was
That is
reading-
corrected.
All right,
Sorry, I should have mentioned.
here I'm relying on technology, not on paper.
Yeah, it's the old fashioned technology.
What was almost the motion as amended. Yeah, that's right.
Finally, I'm going to read this one. It's a proclamation recognizing Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the city of Middleton. And I'm reading this one proudly on behalf of my family. My last name comes to me from my husband. It is pronounced with a Spanish pronunciation, so Haniro. It is derived from Portuguese, so it's got the same root as Rio de Janeiro and the word January. But it belongs to a Filipino family. My late father-in-law, Maximiano Romualdez Haniro III, was a veteran of both the Korean War, and even he could trace his service back to Manila in the Philippines when he was a child and had to smuggle maps unbeknownst to him. His father was part of the resistance and sent young Max to take notes to a nearby village and instructed him to stay out of the way of the Japanese soldiers and get his way to the nearest village. And Max was basically smuggling information to help the resistance. So proudly for my late father-in-law, Max, and my husband and my son, I'll read this proclamation recognizing Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the city of Middleton. Whereas Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is celebrated each May to recognize the rich history, culture, and contributions of individuals and communities with roots across Asia, the Pacific Islands, and Native Hawaiian traditions. And whereas AANHPI individuals have played an essential role in shaping our nation, contributing to advancements in science, education, business, public service, the arts, civic life, and more. And whereas the city of Middleton is strengthened by the diversity of its residents whose varied backgrounds, cultures, and perspectives help to create a vibrant and welcoming community. And whereas as the Good Neighbor City, Middleton is committed to being a place where all individuals feel valued, respected, and empowered to participate fully in civic life. And whereas AANHPI Heritage Month provides an opportunity to celebrate AANHPI traditions and cultures and to highlight how important diversity, equity, and inclusion are to the social fabric of our community. Now therefore, I, Lisa Haniro, Mayor of the City of Middleton, on behalf of the Common Council, do hereby proclaim May as Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the City of Middleton, and encourage all residents to celebrate the contributions and cultures of AAN HPI communities. This proclamation was adopted at a regular meeting of the Middleton Common Council on the 5th day of May, 2026. May I have a motion?
Nelson, I'll move approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Gorman will second.
All those in favor of approving the proclamation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you, everyone. Okay, we do have a presentation, but I would like to say a few words, if you'll indulge me. So these are my welcoming comments on the beginning of our 2026-2027 council session. Many of you know I ran on a message of moving forward together, and purely by coincidence, that is also the theme of the city's 2025 annual report, which came out well into the campaign season. So it really was purely by coincidence, but it's a happy coincidence because moving forward together is an important, it's an important phrase. It's an important thing for all of us to think about. For me, it means bringing people together so that everyone feels welcome and no one is marginalized or is regarded as lesser than simply because of where they work or where they live or who they love. And it means emphasizing collaboration, not individualism, not siloing. It means forging new relationships and strengthening existing ones. And it means tapping our greatest resource, which is the people of the Good Neighbor City, to engage them in decision-making and to ask for their help with projects like tending our conservancies. It means all of us doing our part to make Middleton a safe, welcoming, and even more vibrant community for everyone. These are the ideas that I will be coming back to repeatedly throughout my term, and I hope they're ideas that you'll embrace and add to as we go along on this journey. So what does collaboration look like at the council level? Well, I consulted each of you about your committee assignments, and that's because I want you to be able to work on things that matter to you. I have asked Council President Katie Nelson and President Pro Tem Crow to mentor our newest members, Alder Baines and Alder Opitz, so that they have someone they can turn to if they have questions or if they have some concerns. And I've also asked Council President to bring ideas to each of our meetings to share with the council so that we're always thinking about how we can function better as a team, of course, within the bounds of open meetings law. And tonight, she's going to refresh us on the norms that we typically follow when we make motions at council meetings. So, Alder.
You want to do that right now?
Sure.
Great, okay. Welcome, everyone. Welcome all of you in the audience as well. As we move along, especially early on in this new term, one of the first things I wanted to remind us of who have been on the council and to inform people of who are new to the council of the practice or the traditional norm of the chair of finance and personnel making the motion to accept the consent agenda and to approve it. And so when it comes up on the agenda, we will give the chair the first priority in making that motion. Also, just note the tradition of anytime there's an item on an agenda that you happen to be on that committee or it happens to be in your district, you would typically have the priority to make the motion or the second. So those are my first two for the term.
Thank you. And next time we'll discuss the role of alders on committees, commissions, and boards, both for our understanding and also to prepare for an orientation and appreciation event that we'll be having for members of our committees, commissions, and boards as they kick off their work in June. I am genuinely excited to work with all of you and to work with our amazing staff. And I am forever grateful to the residents of Middleton for giving me this opportunity and for giving me a mandate to advance this vision of moving forward together. So let's get started. Our next agenda item is a presentation on the progress of the city's sustainable purchasing policy implementation plan. And Laura Buckholz, the vice chair of the sustainability committee, is here to give us that presentation. Thank you, Laura.
Good evening, council.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Charles, yes, you're in my blind spot.
Yes. It's different now that we're not seatmates.
Yes.
So one tradition on the Public Works Committee that we had was about after an hour or so, because things come up for some of our members, to just have a brief 5-minute recess. So I ask the chair for a brief 5-minute recess for members to attend to personal needs.
Members, any objections? All right, we'll take a 5-minute recess until 8:10. That'll give Laura a chance to get her stuff set up. Thank you.
Well, let's see first if we in fact have fingerprint.
Oh, that's true.
I think I've seen my numbers.
I didn't need to throw you for the, whatever.
Hello, I don't think it's working. Is it working?
Yeah.
think Council President Nelson is on her way back, so we'll call Laura up to the podium.
Sergeant at Arms.
All right, Laura, we're ready finally. Please proceed. Thank you for being here.
Okay, well, thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. I'm happy to speak to you tonight on our progress rolling out the implementation plan for the sustainable purchasing policy. Are these working here? Is this in presentation mode? Is it not on? Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. So for those of you who are new to the council, just a brief history. Common Council passed the Sustainable Purchasing Policy in April 2023, at which time they gave us a mandate to develop an implementation plan. We did that for the rest of 2023 and 2024, meeting with staff in several rounds and various committees to develop the plan. The plan was then passed in February 2025 and with the mandate to roll it out. And here we are 1 year later in 2026, taking a look at how we did. Tasks that we accomplished. We updated the budget request forms. Bill did some basic research for e-procurement in relationship to the ERP software he was looking for. We had 3 in-house training programs that went over the plan, the tool we use for fleet purchases, to talk a little bit about some terminology to make sure we're all on the same page. And we had 1 field trip where we went to Sun Prairie to look at their resilience center, which is housed in their library. We tried to develop some tools to help staff with, and Kelly and I did several outreach presentations at the municipal level, the county level, and even the state level. Okay. Work that is still in progress. We did create some RFP, Q, and B templates to help staff so they wouldn't have to go searching for some sustainability language. That language is under review to make sure that everything we said was legal. Kelly, during one of her meetings with Planning, Public Works, and Park and Rec, said that they thought, well, maybe we need some additional guidance for technical issues like low carbon concrete. So you should look for a budget request coming from one or all of those departments to get a little more expertise to make sure we do that properly. And the inventory and replacement plan proved to be just a little bit too much for our limited maintenance staff. So we're kind of rolling that work into the climate action roadmap that you passed a budget for in 2026. So hopefully that'll get taken care of this year. Okay. Is it moving? This thing is not. Can you forward it? It's not, can you, there we go, oops. There we go. So work to be done. These are all guidance sheets that you see in the graphic from Santa Monica. The Sustainability Committee has funded an intern to help Kelly go through these sheets, identify all the contact information for Santa Monica and replace it with contact information for Middleton, including the logo, and then to review them to make sure all of the content and the recommendation is up to date and up to date with our specs. We hope to get these guidance sheets rolled out by the end of the summer. The intern will also be helping to analyze energy data, which we would like to share a little bit more with the community as well with you. And we're still trying to acquire the Cenex fuel data. It currently comes in about 100-page PDF that you can't really analyze and track over time. So we're still working to try and acquire that. And forward that. In terms of the budget request forms, we looked through those to see how staff was doing implementing some of the concepts that we brought up. And I'd like to point out that the police department did a wonderful job With the life cycle cost calculations, they put it in the budget sheet and had a narrative to back up why they made their decisions. And if you take a look at the initial cost and then compare it to an annual cost when you look at life cycles, it really builds a better picture for what we're doing when we invest in fleet vehicles. The golf course did a nice job as well with the 5-year planning aspect. You can see that they have a fleet electrification plan that's going to happen over several years. And at the end of that time, they're also doing a building renovation. And so we have a pretty good idea of what's coming down the pike. We are hopeful that all of the requests for proposals, quotes, and bids that might be involved in those will be complete so that it doesn't negatively impact staff, that really all the language is there. They just have to put them in there and then the engineers take it following from there. Okay. We also conducted an implementation index survey. And for people that are new here, we did a baseline in 2024 where we asked some open-ended questions to see what type of assistance staff would like, what projects they'd like to work on, and any additional comments they would like to share. This year, we added confidence in the policy. How confident are you that you understand this? How valuable was the training to you? And what kind of barriers did you encounter? We got a pretty good response rate here that actually doubled our first 2024 rate. So we had 22 fully complete surveys and 7 partially complete surveys. The respondents were largely new. Only 8% recalled completing the survey previously. It's kind of unique, so I think they probably would have remembered it if they had done it. The departments were all fairly evenly engaged. And as you can see, the engagement, how long it took staff to complete this survey, increased by about 5 minutes. And I think that had to do with the additional open-ended questions. Questions that all the respondents answered. How well do you understand the city purchasing policy? As you can see, about 70% feel somewhat very confident, but that still leaves 30% that are not very confident at all. So we want to work on that and try to improve that through the training that we do this time. When we asked them how often do they consider environmental factors, I'm very happy to report that you have over 50% that it's most or all the time. If you look at half to all the time, you're looking at about 80%. So only 20% of the respondents said never to rarely. So again, there's still kind of a core group there that we want to reach out a little bit better about this importance. And this is where we get to the index survey. This is where about 30% dropped out. This might have been a little more daunting than they necessarily need to do with their everyday purchases, so that's probably okay. Still, if you take a look at the bottom line, you can see that we are consistently above the study average. And for those of you who are new again, the study that was conducted looked at cities with a population greater than 25,000. And they looked, I think, at over 1,800 cities. So you can see we're actually doing quite well and showing slight improvement. We also have shown improvement overall, but we have identified a few focus areas. If you noticed in the road construction, that's one of the few categories that are actually below the study average. Our goal is to be above it. And there's real areas there for some carbon sequestration. So we're going to try and work with Public Works to see if we can bring that up. Also, you might want to look at IT and professional services. Some of the comments that came in, they were asking about how can we consider the environment with professional services. So we want to work with those staff members as well to try and answer their questions. When we asked about the barriers, the top 3 barriers were external. These are things that we cannot directly control. That is the cost of items, whether they're available, and whether the vendors are interested in providing some of the services. But if you look at the next 3, which are internal, you've got training. That's one that we can address. Belief. Do they really feel that this policy will be affected? And fear. Are they going to be punished for mistakes? we believe that we can address those three internal barriers, and that will actually help a little bit with the external barriers. So for example, let's take low carbon concrete. I could see where staff would be skeptical about whether that's going to work, because if we're the only municipality asking for it, then the vendors are not going to whip up a special batch just for us, right? But since we have started this process, Kelly and I have presented at the municipal, county and state levels, and Fitchburg, Sun Prairie, Madison, and Verona are all developing sustainable purchasing policies based off of what we have done. We also spoke in March to the Wisconsin Association of Public Procurement conference, and this includes not only municipalities, but county and state school districts, and they now have our supplies or our materials. And so the idea is that if we can get everybody pulling in the same direction, if you will, if all those people start asking for example, low carbon concrete, now the vendors are going to start competing on that. They're going to try and come up with something. Now the product's going to be become available. And then over time, like with solar panels, the cost will come down. So I think that we need to do a better job during training to explain to staff that this is kind of a holistic, long-term plan, and that it will take time to move it forward, and that they shouldn't be afraid of making mistakes, because we do understand that there are a lot of things that are outside of their control. So that's what we're going to focus on, is improving the training so that they fully understand that. Okay. Attendance. About 50% of the people who responded had attended one of our training sessions. 42% said they reviewed the materials. I didn't ask it quite right, so I'm not sure if that's additive or if just about 40% or so have actually looked at our materials. The value, about 80% found it somewhat to very helpful, but about 20% found it not very helpful at all. We do know that a couple of people came to training that didn't really pertain to them. So we want to be a little bit more mindful this year to try and target it, to do micro sessions and target it to people so that you get exactly what you're looking for. Let's go to the next one. And so then we look at preferred guidance. Staff likes lists. So they want checklists, product lists, and short micro training. So those are some things we're working on. When you look at the comments, they ask for things like video, training, lists, like plug and play tools, and then some just general comments that will help us as we move forward in terms of our training and plan information. And this is my favorite part, the future vision ideas. We ask staff that if you have the time and the money, what would you like to do? The ones that are underlined and highlighted in green, these are some that have come up twice. And given the turnover and respondents, I find that kind of positive that staff have similar things they would like to see. Some of the ones that we've already tried to work on, chemical reduction, even though that's not our focus till year 3. One of the RFPs that we developed specifically outlined and used the language for chemical reduction. So we are trying to take these ideas and we are trying to move them forward in however we can, whether it's looking for grants for infrastructure or looking for grants to restore prairies or getting toxic chemicals out of our cleaning supplies. And then just some more general comments here about professional services. We're going to work on that. Supply chain coordination. We thought this was a really good one that might be something we could look into once Bill gets the ERP system set up and we can have a bit of an e-procurement arm. Of course, it's always nice to be appreciated, but I'd like to direct your attention to the critiques because I think it's important to listen to what staff is saying. And so if you look at the first one, they point out that, yes, we have many buildings that are failing and they were concerned about needing more maintenance personnel. I did look into this a little bit and shared some of my research with Mr. Gatto here, and so he's aware of that, but we're actually not doing too bad. It's the age of our buildings. That's the problem. I think we all know that. But it did have some information in there about how staff could document that. So as you make your decision in terms of the community campus, whether we need more maintenance or not, hopefully we can address those as well. And then finally, the other critique is how we use department meeting times. And so some didn't think that this use for the definitions was a good use of time. So what we've done, and you can go ahead and forward it to our task list here, is we're going to try and create a video library. So let's go ahead and take out some of the things that they don't like to try and be a little bit more efficient. So we're creating a library that looks at the policy's purpose and scope. A video that will take them through the IP document itself, because some of the things they requested are kind of buried in it. So maybe we can pull out that to make it easier for them to find. And then a video that just hits this terminology, because while one staff member didn't particularly care for that and found it a little condescending, I was defining certain terms. Another staff member said, I'd never heard of that before, and I really appreciate that you explained it to me because I didn't know that term. So hopefully videos will be able to target who needs what a little bit better. We also are going to update those Santa Monica guidance sheets, and we need to create a professional services one to kind of address that question that came through. Work on replacing those small assets. That is one of those things that staff already have the authority to do. So I have to do a better job of making sure they understand that, and to finish those templates so that when all these projects come down the pike, that they can do it without much negative impact on their time. Okay, so that is where we were at. Any questions or anything that you have?
Thank you so much, Laura. Does anybody have questions for Laura or comments?
Yes.
Alderman.
I do. I just want to say thank you for all of the work that you have done with this so far. Having watched it a little bit from the Public Works and providing comments and all the way through now the first year of implementation. It's a kind of yeoman's amount of work. And so I'm grateful for you for doing it. I'm grateful for the city for approving it and continuing to work towards being more sustainable.
Thank you. Thank you. Alder Schaefer has his hand raised.
Yeah, I just want to praise Laura. Having been on the committee for 2 years, this is sort of her baby, and this wouldn't be anywhere near where it is now, or even was if it weren't for Laura. So thank you amazingly a lot.
Thank you. Alder Myers.
Hi, yeah, Laura, thank you for your work and your presentation and your grace on the 5-minute recess. It is a Public Works tradition, I swear.
It is.
Yeah, thank you for backing me up, Kim. So I was initially going to email this to you, but it's my understanding that certain formulations of low carbon concrete can be more robust against chloride infiltration. If you happen to have those figures handy on cost, I think it would be interesting for the Public Works Committee as a future discussion point. Unfortunately, for road construction and curbs, we do have to be extremely cost sensitive on Public Works because the amount of money does not increase with inflation, and we have the entire city's roads to maintain. So if we take money and invest it long-term, we need to know that there's going to be a return on that investment in terms of better durability and fewer maintenance expenses. So I'm looking forward to seeing that information and having a conversation about it in Public Works, because if there is a way for us to save money on concrete costs and better maintain our concrete, I think all of my colleagues know that that's near and dear to my heart. So.
Well, thank you for that. And I just wanted to let you know that we are aware of some of those constraints and that definitely that one of the definitions of sustainable management that has the fiscal arm as part of it. So sometimes people don't realize, yes, the Sustainability Committee understands that. And specifically with low carbon concrete, we realize it does not work everywhere. And that's why we thought it was important to get some consultants, some engineers with expertise in there to make sure that, okay, here's the language, here's exactly what we're talking about, and here is when you can actually use it. So all of those should be considered whenever doing anything new like that.
Of course, and thank you. You know, we want to have the conversation. I don't want to set an expectation of something following the conversation without those constraints acknowledged.
Council President Nelson.
Thank you. I want to just thank Laura and to just say how lucky we are to have you on our team doing this for us. Your presentation style is so concise and very easy to understand. And I like that you've attacked it from all these different angles. And I believe that you're going to help this city win awards and praise and grants for your innovative system. And I could not be prouder to have you on our side. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And if I could echo that, and I want everyone who's listening to this presentation and these comments to understand that all of the work you just saw Laura report on has been at no charge to the city. This could be a very lucrative contract for Laura, and instead, as the vice chair of the Sustainability Committee, she has donated all of her time to do this work, and it's just amazing work. And I completely agree with my colleagues that this is just phenomenal. Any other questions or comments for Laura? If not, can we give her a round of applause? Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda, and we'll do this just a little differently. Is there any item on the consent agenda that one of the members would like to pull?
I would like to pull item 3, please.
Item 3. All right, any other items to be pulled? If not,
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda items 1, 2, 4, 5, 4, and 5.
thank you. Is there a second?
Mrs. Madden, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving consent agenda items 1, 2, 4, and 5, signify.
Mayor and Ira, I think there's a
Hi,
comment.
I'm in your blind spot again.
Okay, we usually, okay, I was going to say comments. The purpose of the
Yeah,
consent
yeah.
agenda is to blaze through it.
Yep.
But go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I was glad to see that we now have inflation adjustments standard in our water utility cell tower antenna contracts. So
Great, thank you. Okay, all those in favor of of approving the motion made by Alder Crow, seconded by Madden, to approve the consent agenda items 1, 2, 4, and 5, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to consent agenda item number 3, award of agreement to Ruckert and Milky for engineering, design, and bidding services for the Pheasant Branch Conservancy County M Trailhead Facility in an amount not to exceed $154,700, subject to city attorney approval of any associated contracts. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval, but I want to discuss this too. But I'd like to move approval if that's okay.
It is. Is there a second?
This is Alder Crow, second.
Thank you. Discussion?
Mayor, I appreciate that Steve Brudder will develop multiple site layouts, alternatives, and also their commitment to public engagement. However, I have a concern that the proposal didn't identify any project experience in Dane County. And also they don't seem to have any standalone path projects that they identified on page 17 of their proposal. And that doesn't disqualify them by any means, because I thought they did a very nice job with their proposal, and I appreciate the staff putting this together. But because they don't have that standalone, they didn't indicate a standalone focus on paths in Dane County with experience in that area, I would ask that staff regularly update the Ped Bike Transit Committee. I'm not asking for a consultant update because I know that they only are obligated to have up to 4 meetings with committees, so I didn't want to add to that burden. But if Kylie or Abby or whoever could update the Ped Bike Transit Committee to get input from the bicycle and the Ped Bike perspective as well, I think that would be really helpful because obviously the context of this is it's the hub of our trail network, which is used also for transportation. So I would make that a friendly request and fully support the proposal.
Okay, any
Thank you.
other comments from alders? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving consent agenda item number 3, award of agreement to Rickert and Milky for engineering, design, and bidding services for the Pheasant Branch Conservancy County M Trailhead Facility in an amount not to exceed $154,700, subject to city attorney approval of any associated contracts, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to the budget item number 1, authorization to adjust a vacant part-time senior center case manager position to a full-time shared social worker position. Is there a motion?
This is
Madden? Okay.
This is Alder Crowe. I make the motion to authorize to adjust a vacant part-time senior center case manager position to a full-time shared social worker position.
Thank you. Is there a
And
second?
Madden will second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Do you have any, since you made the motion, you get the first chance to speak to it?
No, I mean, finance, we had a brief talk about it, but finance committee approved
Okay,
advancing it.
thank you. Alder Myers.
I just wanted to say that I'm really glad to see this. During my tour of the senior center, last year I had a chance to sit down with our case managers and hear about their workload. This has been needed for a considerable amount of time, and I'm glad that we're addressing that now.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of authorizing or approving authorization to adjust a vacant part-time senior center case manager position to a full-time shared social worker position, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to CSM plat, item number 1, review and potential action on transportation project plat for the County Highway M Bridge project. This comes to us from Public Works. Is there a motion?
Myers, move approval on behalf of Public Works.
And Madden will second.
Thank you. Discussion? Alder Myers, do you have any comments as the maker of the motion?
No, I have none.
All right. All right, then all those in favor of approving the transportation project plat for the County Highway M Bridge project signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on, lost a page, to miscellaneous item number 1, approval of Culver's traffic impact analysis report and recommendation for Parmenter Street, Lisa Lane intersection reconfiguration. We'll hear from staff first. Thank you, Luke.
Yep, Luke Maltik, city engineer. Just as a general overview on the TIA process. So right now, all developments in the city of Middleton are typically required to complete a traffic impact analysis alongside their development. This looks at, surrounding infrastructure, site circulation within the project area, provides recommendations to alleviate any concerns that pop up during this. Currently, we are working under TIA guidelines that were approved back in 2005, I believe. And that is what we base our recommendations on. We have SRF do the TIA study and then staff and the developer review. We bring those recommendations to Public Works, which then can escalate to Plan Commission and Common Council as we're here tonight. Overall, in the TIA guidelines, it's pretty explicitly stated that developers are responsible to prevent operational degradation to a lower level of service at an intersection due to the result of their project. There's two main intersections that we looked at with this project. One is the Century Avenue and Laura Lane intersection. That intersection is already at an F. Staff is aware of that, and we know we need to make operational improvements there in the future. The other intersection that we are asking for input recommendation tonight is the Parmenter and Lisa Lane intersection. This intersection currently operates at a level of service D. Level of service for roadways goes from A all the way down to F, including E. With the Culvers development, we, through the TIA analysis, believe that there's going to be a degradation from level of service D immediately to a level of service F when the project is completed and adding additional traffic to Lisa Lane. The TIA looks forward 10 years. So the horizon year is 2036 for this project. We would expect without any development that this would be at a level of service E, so it would degrade one level. It would remain an F with development. A couple items I wanted to point out specifically. I believe you have the motions that were made by Public Works and Plan Commission in front of you, so I won't go through that again. But a couple considerations are that Parmenter Street is not wide enough for a two-stage crossing at this time. So if someone were to be taking a left off of Lisa Lane, they would have to cross 3 lanes of traffic at a minimum to make that left turn motion. One of the key items in determining level of service at an intersection is the vehicle delay. The current delay per vehicle at this intersection, making that left turn movement specifically, I believe, is about 30 seconds per vehicle. So if you have 5 cars in a line, you would expect the 5th car on average to take about 2.5 minutes to get through the intersection. Looking forward to 2036 with the development, we're looking at about 110 seconds per vehicle to cross through the intersection. Added up, that just compounds with every car that's waiting in line. To solve this, considering there was no warrant for a traffic signal through the TIA, the solution that our consultant came up with was to restrict left turns from Lisa Lane onto Parmenter and from the O'Connell's driveway onto Parmenter. That's essentially just a byproduct of not being able to keep that left turn open while restricting left turns from Lisa Lane. That's pretty much what I wanted to cover. If there's any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer. We have Noah from SRF on virtually as well.
Thank you, Luke. Members? Alder Crowe.
Well, I have one question on the terminology, I guess. In the short description on our agenda, it talks about a left turn stacking lane on Lisa Lane. What's a left turn stacking lane?
Basically just a dedicated left turn lane where other people can come by and take a right as well.
Okay. And I guess I actually work at that intersection. I work at Lake Ridge Bank, which is right next to the liquor store, across the street from what used to be Fitzgerald's. And I guess, and I understand the need to look at what traffic is going to be like in the future. And I guess at this point, and I realize there'll be a lot more traffic with Culvers being in there. But I do have some concerns about taking the left turn away from McConnell's. So, and I guess I kind of like the idea of leaving the intersection the way it is now. And I guess to see what kind of problems arise. I've walked that area. I turn in and out of the bank's parking lot every day, sometimes going left from our parking lot. Some people at the bank have asked me about this also. What are we going to do about traffic that may turn into our parking lot in order to turn around because they can't go left? So I guess I do have a concern with restricting flow of traffic in and out of parking lots.
Thank you. We'll go to Alder Schaefer and then Alder Opitz.
Yeah, I have to agree with my colleague. You know, when I go by O'Connell's, it's basically a drive-by thing. I don't think people use it as a destination. And I agree with the need to maintain some left turn out of there because there's plenty of other liquor stores around too people can choose to go to. And they've been there for a long time, and I think this would be detrimental. But the other comment I want to make, we talk about all this increased traffic on Parmenter, but there's already a Culver's on Parmenter, and so I don't see it increased because everything pours out of the current. You know, it goes through a lake, but it goes onto the same highway, so I don't see much of an increased potential on Parmenter in the near future at all because they're already there. Culver's is already there, so. I advocate what we came up with at the end of the plan commission, which is leave the intersection there and observe it. And we even, I think somebody talked about the concept of, you know, putting in some money in escrow to possibly deal with problems down the road from Culver's, say. I don't know if that's a possibility, but if I were to vote today, that's how I'd vote.
Thank you, Alder Schaefer. Alder Opitz?
Well, building on what the previous two speakers said, I know Christy Hughes, if she's here, made a statement earlier about being committed in the future to help solving the problem. What does that look like in terms of, you know, what trigger that? What kind of, I mean, could you elaborate on that, Luke? Has there been any sort of discussion with Culver's about that? And if, you know, how would the city how would we be able to identify when there's a problem and have them contribute financially to solving it?
So that's not really something that has been discussed at this point. I guess at Plan Commission, it was just left open-ended of, you know, if there's a problem in the future, Public Works, I guess probably Public Works Committee would make the determination that something needs to be done. We haven't really fleshed out any of those details yet.
Yeah, other than the escrow process, I don't know how else we would.
Yeah, I guess I was specifically talking about like the analysis of determining there's an issue.
And then my second question is, I sent an email yesterday to our public works staff and planning staff, and I was just wondering if the email specifically asked about whether there was an opportunity to narrow the road from 2 lanes in each direction to 1 lane. So in other words, to use the cross section that's north of Century Avenue and bring that to the south. I think it was Mr. O'Connell who said that the traffic volumes on this street are less than what we see on Century, Allen, and University. We all know that. So my question is there an opportunity or was that considered to narrow the roadway so that you can have a wider median, which would then accommodate U-turn movements as a way to overcome the left turn issue?
Yeah, so I think something of that scope of narrowing the roadway for the length from Century South would be somewhat out of the scope of the TIA itself. I don't think I could really make any comments on if that's practical or advisable without, you know, going into a further road diet study on Parmenter.
Okay, Alder Myers.
Yeah, so well, I'm a Game of Thrones fan, still am. And there's a character called Quaithe who gives a riddle to Daenerys. It's in order to go north, you must first journey south. If we put in some of the things that are suggested by the TIA, in order to journey south, you must first venture north. It's not really super practical. And as I was driving by O'Connell's today, actually. I thought, how many people who use this business really do use that left turn? Because Bill and Mary, you know, I support you. But I did want to ask myself the question. And literally 5 seconds after I drove past, I saw in my rearview mirror someone making a left turn out of O'Connell's. So this isn't an entirely abstract question here. And I trust you, Bill, and you, Mary, to know your business and what your business needs better than I do. So that being said, Matt, in terms of the process discussed at Plan Commission, is it legal in Wisconsin for us to have something like a letter of surety attached to this with conditions in the event that the Culvers and the change in traffic do eventually require this? I'm asking because I know that it's easier to do it that way than it is to ask Culvers to put an amount of money in escrow. And I want to be sure that if we're all agreeing to something here on council tonight, we're agreeing to something that is permissible under Wisconsin law when we approve this TIA. So that's my concern, because I don't want to put an unfunded mandate on Public Works.
You know, I think the big concern again, I think, as we'll discuss, is what exactly is going to be the trigger. And I think part of the key would be to understand that that trigger is actually caused by Culver's development, which could be more difficult to determine later on, because I'm sure there will be other things that come along in the time. Yeah, so it's not a question I can answer with definitive. In theory, it is something that we could do, but I think we just have to know exactly what the triggers are going to be, and have a good sense and agreement from Culvers that those triggers are sufficiently definite and that they accept those.
Matt, your "it depends" is good enough for me.
A question,
Go
I
ahead.
guess, for staff. Do we know kind of incidences that have happened already at that intersection in terms of car crashes, pedestrian safety? Do we have a record of how bad that Lisa Lane and Parmenter is right now?
We would have a record of it offhand. I don't know what that number would be. I would imagine it to be very small, given the low traffic on the minor streets. That might be something that, I'm sure it's mentioned in the TIA as well. Noah has his hand up.
Noah
I'm sure
has-
he knows.
Go ahead, Noah.
Noah has his hand up and Noah has the answer. The answer of the past, or I guess I should say, the most recent 5 years of data, 2020 through 2024, there were 4 recorded crashes on the intersection of Lisa and Parmenter, all of which occurred on the west leg of the intersection.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Mr. Chris?
yeah, I'm just
Okay.
curious how.
Any further comments from members? If not, I would like to chime in as the Chair of Plan Commission. I was at the April 20th meeting when we discussed this at length. And if we could bring up the motion that passed the Plan Commission, it's on page 161 of the packet. But the concerns that led the Plan Commission to, in effect, reject the recommendations of the TIA. Well, first of all, as we heard, O'Connell's did not want this. Culver's did not want this restriction on left turn. The discussion, for the most part, at the beginning was all about vehicles. That's what our TIA guidelines address. They were written in 21 years ago. So they predate our complete streets policy significantly. And when we got around to talking about safety for pedestrians, the recommendation was to move the existing crosswalk so that it's on the south side of that intersection, because we don't want students to be coming from Cromrie and Middleton High School and cutting across where there is no crosswalk to get right to Culvers. And we can't really count on them to cross the street further down like they do to get to Culvers now and then walk on the west side of Parmenter. The idea, we hadn't heard from anybody who lives on Lisa Lane to find out, are they aware that this is a proposal to restrict their ability to turn left? And then there was the big concern about compliance. Would cars do what a lot of people choose to do, which is ignore the pork chop, go around it? What kind of hazard would that create for a pedestrian that's trying to cross the street at that same time, or doing the U-turns? Nobody, I don't feel safe doing U-turns even when they're permissible. So we had a lot of discussion and really were motivated by, is there a need? We were not convinced there was. Is there a desire for this? Clearly there was not. And is there an alternative? And the very long, very long motion that you see on your screen now in quotes, that is what came from the Plan Commission. And as a member of the Plan Commission, that is the one that I would encourage my colleagues on council to consider approving. Oh, Alder Schaefer, I don't see you.
Yeah, having been at that meeting, and I agree with this, to move things along, I will move. We accept that proposal as moved by the Plan Commission.
Myers second.
Can I make one clarification on the motion? That this is just for the intersection improvements and not the TIA as a whole. So all the access control, interior of the site, all those recommendations are not being rejected. It's just the recommendation for the intersection.
Alder Schaefer, is that your intention?
That was my intention in seconding, so.
Okay, yeah, that's mine too. I mean,
Yeah, if I could.
yeah, Matt, we have Matt who says that's possible, so that's okay.
If I could sum it up and just say that unless it is overridden, if you will, by the language in this motion, the other recommendations of the TIA would be acceptable to you, Alder Schaefer, and you, Alder Myers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the motion to accept the Plan Commission's recommendation, as you see on your screen, and the other aspects of the recommendations from the TIA that are not overridden by this motion from Plan Commission, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, moving on to the update on community campus financing strategies. And I believe we're going to hear from Bill.
Thank you. I'll bring this up. Yeah, for this item, there is no action that is required. This is an update to provide context, and we'll lead into the next item where we are looking for some direction on the 2026 borrowing. This is an update from the presentation that was provided last November on financing strategies for the community campus project. I'll move through fairly quickly, just in interest of time, but happy to answer questions if there are any. So as part of this, we had put together some options for looking at 3 different scenarios for community campus projects of different amounts of borrowing, one at 65 million, one at 85 million, and one at 110 million. And put together some assumptions and some options for how to try to do that while mitigating the overall tax impact to our taxpayers. This slide includes some of the caveats with this, that these are conceptual. These are all estimates and projections. These numbers will change based on changes in interest rates, changes on borrowing and project amounts as we go forward, but they represent our best estimate at this snapshot in time. The overall strategies that the city's been considering and discussing is number one, layering in new community campus debt as existing facility debt is repaid. And this is something that the city has been consciously doing for several years, that when we do our annual capital borrowing, we're keeping the term of that relatively short and structuring that in such a way that our other larger facility debt, such as police station, fire, EMS, municipal operations center, when that debt is repaid over time, that it creates capacity for new facility borrowing within the city's debt structure. Strategy number two, which relates specifically to the item we're discussing later on the agenda tonight, is structuring the 2026 capital borrowing, front-loading principal repayments in the early years to avoid a situation where we potentially could have a short-term dip in the tax rate and then an increase, but trying to look at mitigating that overall tax rate impact to try to keep that relatively constant over time. And then the third is utilizing the additional tax base from the TID 3 closure that happened earlier this year and the corresponding reduction in the operating portion of our tax rate to offset an increase in the debt service tax rate for the additional borrowing and trying to mitigate and manage that overall tax rate impact. These are some of the additional assumptions about net new construction growth and median home value that were included in this analysis. And then the heart of this is looking at those three scenarios. So scenario A looked at a $65 million borrowing for the project. A lot of numbers on this slide that I won't go through all of, but just to show you the way this is laid out, this looks at our total property tax levy. So this is all the funds that we're collecting from taxes, starting with our operating levy for our operating budget, our existing debt service for debt that's already been issued, plans for future capital improvement debt. This would represent our annual general capital borrowing that we discuss as part of our annual budget process. Then adding in that additional borrowing for the community campus project, come up with the total taxes to be levied. The next section looks at our tax base. So this is the non-TIF equalized value, and dividing the levy by the TIF out equalized value yields the equalized tax rate. And that is looking at just the city portion of the tax rate. And this is using an equalized rate. So it factors out differences in the revaluation and changes in assessment level from year to year to make it easier to compare years over time. And then finally, looking in the last section at the estimated city tax on the median value home. And this does assume some increases in value for that median home over time. So under this first scenario A, from our current equalized tax rate of $4.50 per thousand, we would anticipate a small decrease each year of a little under 1%. The estimated total city tax on that median home would be increasing slightly by about $35 per year, and that's primarily related to increases in the value of the property. So even though the tax rate in this scenario would go down slightly, if there are increases in value of the property, the overall tax that they'd be paying for the city would increase somewhat. This next slide just shows that graphically. So the bars in orange are the operating portion of the tax rate. So that would go down following the closure of the TIF district. The debt service represented by the gray would increase. Overall, we would see from $4.50 per thousand a slow decrease over time. Scenario B looked at an $85 million community campus borrowing. The slide is laid out the same way. The difference is that this was looking at a even equalized tax rate. So maintaining our current $4.50 per thousand, projected to stay the same for the next 10 years. As in the first scenario, we would anticipate that there could be some increase in the city tax based on increases in value of the property. In this case, that's about $50 per year. Again, graphically, we would see a decrease in the operating tax rate. We would see the debt service portion of the tax rate increasing and a constant rate of $4.50 per thousand projected. Scenario C looked at a $110 million project. In this scenario, to accommodate the additional debt service, we would anticipate about a 5% increase in the city overall tax rate to about $4.73 per thousand, and then maintaining that constant. That would translate on a median dollar home to an estimated $173 increase in the first year, and then going back to about $50 per year. And again, looking at that graphically, you still have the decrease in the operating tax rate. The debt service rate in this case would go up in that 2028 and then remain constant at that point going forward. All of those scenarios that I walked through are using those three strategies, including the option of, for the 2026 borrowing, including additional principal repayment in that first year to try to keep those tax rates either constant or in that last scenario moving up a bit. Next steps going forward, the next item on the agenda will include a brief presentation from Todd Taves from Ellers, who's going to talk specifically about the 2026 borrowing, and we're looking for some direction on which option to work with as we continue planning that issue. Then at a future meeting, there would be a resolution to actually take action authorizing the sale of that borrowing for this year. And for the community campus, we would continue to refine the project scope, costs. Potentially, if we get to the point where there's a consensus on moving forward with a scope of the project, we'd be going through an RFP process to select an architect to continue to refine the design. And then all of that would be brought back as we do further analysis on financing scenarios, updating our costs, interest rate assumptions, and timeline. Now, that was a lot of information in a short amount of time. I'd be happy to answer any questions on this portion before we turn things over to Todd Taves for the next item.
Thank you, Bill. Any clarifying questions for Bill? Yes.
Just one. Thank you, Bill. I love the way you lay things out. It really helps me understand things a little better. Just want to clarify between the option B and C, there was the 1 year 2028 on option C. 2028 will be $173 approximately for the median home increase, and then back down to the 50. Can you explain the bump on that one?
Yeah, so in that scenario, at that level of debt, we're anticipating that we would not be able to keep the city's tax rate constant. So we are anticipating an increase. In that scenario, it looked at taking that increase in one piece, going from 27 to 28, and then trying to maintain a constant tax rate after that. As we get into details on how we look at structuring this, you could step that up over time rather than taking that all in 1 year. But just to show comparison of the different options, that shows that all in that first year.
Thank you. For me, that kind of makes an argument that after that 1 year, the difference between option B and C sort of makes sense to go for the larger option, since it'll be a couple generations worth of services for the city. Anyway, thank you.
Any other questions for Bill? Yes, Alder Myers.
Yeah. Hey, Bill, thank you for your work on this. I appreciate it. I had a question about scenario C. 5% increase in city tax rate, then level for 10 years before decreasing by 1% per year. That remains an increase in inflation adjusted real terms for homeowners, correct?
Yeah, so this is, with all of these options, they're using equalized tax rates. In that scenario, it's projecting that there would be a 5% increase in the rate in that first year, and then the rate remaining constant. So property values, if they would continue to increase over time, that leads to the what's shown as the estimated tax impact on those future years, that you'd be at a higher rate. So you'd be stepping up to that rate and then potentially would still have additional increases beyond that for inflation.
Yeah, I'm looking at it and I see the decrease by 1% per year, but the amount compounded from the initial front load is going to exceed any potential decrease there.
Yeah,
So,
and if I would say I primarily was focusing on the first 10-year period because there will be other projects in the city's future that will need to be factored into this. So 10 years is somewhat of an arbitrary number. This shows projections over the full life of the bonds, which could be issued for 20 years. But we were really trying to focus on the rate in that first 10-year period.
great, thank you. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your work on that. One other thing that I would have liked to see, but I understand why it's not in here, is the potential impact of changes to our operating levy on tax rates, but due to increased staff costs that I think may exceed what we've modeled, but that's probably beyond the scope. So let's touch base.
Okay, any further questions? All right, hearing none, I would note, members, that it has been 1 hour since our last break. 5-minute recess? Yes. All right, 5-minute recess. We'll be back at 9:16.
There.
A little wooden thingy? No.
We'll be here
I have
till 10.
Robert's rules. I have two gavels, I can bang the gavels together, but yeah, there should be a little thing. The gavel pounder. Okay, everyone, it is 9:16, so let's continue, please.
Or this, the next two are not happening.
All right. Thank you. Our next item of business is a presentation by Mr. Todd Taves on the 2026 general obligation notes financing options.
Thank you. So building off what Bill just talked about, the task we have is to determine how to structure your 2026 GO notes. So just quick overview of this year's issuance. We've sized this at $4,490,000. This again pays just for your general CIP projects for 2026 as approved in the budget. This is general obligation, so secured by a pledge of property taxes, 8-year term, and first prepayable or able to refinance beginning March 1st of 2032. In past years, the city has placed its debt directly with Baird through what's called a negotiated sale. Given your high credit rating, we are recommending that you consider a competitive sale this year. And what a competitive sale simply means is that we put your offering document out to the market. We take bids from regional and national underwriters to determine who can give you the best overall cost of funds. The way we evaluate that is what is known as true interest cost. This screenshot is from our internal database system, a little hard to read, but just to give you an example, this was a City of West Bend competitive sale on April 20th. We received 9 bids. That column just to the left of where you see the maturity schedule where it says TIC percent. Again, that's the basis of award. So in this case, the winning bidder offered a true interest cost of 3.54%. That ranged down to 3.71%. So it doesn't seem like a big spread, but when we're talking about applying that to millions of dollars, that adds up quickly in terms of interest expense. So again, we recommend you solicit competitive proposals for placement of this year's notes. How we arrived at the $4,490,000, looking at the bottom portion, the uses first. Your actual estimated costs for the projects are $4.4 million. We've got rounding since we always issue notes in $5,000 increments. A variety of costs of issuance for the professional services associated with the transaction. And lastly, we have an underwriting discount. The discount, think of that as the winning underwriter's potential compensation. They bid on that in addition to the interest rate that's factored into that true interest cost equation. So while we're allowing up to $44,900, we could very well see on the day of sale that that amount is less. To the extent that the underwriting discount is less, as well as more than likely we'll get what's called a reoffering premium, will reduce the size of the note issue on the day of sale. All those uses add up to $4,523,000. When you receive the $4.4 million, you won't spend that overnight. So you'll invest that temporarily. We've estimated you'll receive roughly $33,000 in interest earnings while you're spending down that money on this year's projects. So we factor that into the equation, and then the plug numbers, the $4,490,000. So in other words, issuing $4,490,000 in notes will produce the proceeds needed to finance $4.4 million in projects. This exhibit, and there's 2 options, and this ties into the presentation Bill just gave. The way this grid works is on the far left, that's your existing annual debt service for debt that's already on the books. In the center is the estimated principal and interest repayment on your 26 notes. And then the far right, we've got that added together to give a new tax levy for debt, and then the change in the levy. So in this particular example, the genesis of this was work we had done last summer, looking different community campus options on the debt levy without considering the operating portion. And our approach here was to sort of ramp that debt levy up over a period of a couple years. So in this scenario, we're showing roughly an $810,000 increase in your debt levy for the year 2027. We'll contrast that now to the next slide, which is the second option. And this aligns with what Bill just presented, where we would make a much larger principal payment in the first year. So you'll see in 2027, $2,550,000 results in a change in the levy of $2.6 million for debt. But going back to Bill's exhibit, what this option would do is it would result in a level equalized tax rate. So as a result of the TID closure, you've got the ability to more rapidly repay this debt while also setting the stage for whatever community campus option you ultimately pick without increasing the debt or the total tax rate. As Bill noted, you would still have some increase in the actual bill as a result of economic appreciation of property. But this option B in my presentation is essentially the level equalized tax rate implementation solution. And we can come back to that in a second. I will skip this because it's essentially a recap of what Bill presented. I'll give you a sense of where the market is. Obviously, a lot of volatility over the last couple months with economic situation worldwide, but a few sales that took place on April 20th, which was a day or so before I put this together for West Bend, Maple Grove, Minnesota, another Minnesota community. That TIC far right column, that's again the true interest cost. These aren't really apples to apples because different terms. Your planning runs the two options. The TIC estimate ranges from 3.35 to 3.5, and you can see that generally tracks with these other results. The graph on the right is a more general indication of where the market has been over the last 30 years. Think of this kind of like the Dow Jones or the S&P for the bond market. It's just a general indicator of where interest rates are. The orange line represents that 30-year average. So we're on the far right. We are a bit above the 30-year average at this point. You can see the big trough there. That's rate environment we had as a result of Fed intervention. So that's kind of where we are in terms of the interest rate environment. And again, we recommend a competitive sale. So number one, transparency, but number two, we know you've got the best deal available to the city that day in the market. As with last year, we are recommending that you approve this via a parameter sale. This would appear on your next council meeting agenda. And what the parameters resolution does is it delegates the authority to staff, in this case, the city administrator or finance director, to offer the notes for sale and then award the bid subject to complying with various parameters set forth in the resolution. A variety of reasons we do that, but the main one is if we bring it to the council for approval on the night that we take bids, we have 2 days per month that we can sell the notes. Those may or may not be the best days in the market to sell the notes when you look at economic news, Fed meeting dates, and so forth. So parameters resolution gives us the flexibility to sell that any day of the month versus sticking with the council meeting dates. In terms of the parameters, what you'll see in the resolution is that it cannot exceed $4,490,000. That the minimum bid has to be at least 98.75% of the face value of the notes. That aligns with that underwriting discount that I talked about. True interest costs not to exceed 4%, and again, delegation to the city administrator or finance director. The three that are asterisked, we need some guidance from you on the structure, and then I will determine what the appropriate parameters are to give to bond council to include in the resolution. In terms of schedule, again, this would appear on your next council agenda for formal approval. We would then schedule a rating call with Moody's as well as a due diligence call with Quarles and Brady in the June 1st to 12th timeframe. By June 15th, we would expect to have the preliminary official statement, which is the offering document, sent out to the market. I would be looking at taking bids for you on June 24th with a closing on or about July 15th. To summarize what we are looking for this evening is some direction on what I showed as the option A and the option B. The option A was sort of a phase in. The result of that would be is you would likely see a drop in your equalized tax rate next year, and then seeing that tax rate go up for the 2028 budget year. So you get kind of that little bit of a roller coaster effect. The recommendation of the Finance and Personnel Committee was to go with option B, which would keep that level tax rate so that you would not again have sort of that up and down effect. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. May I ask for clarification on the on the action you're looking for council to take tonight. I saw with the Finance and Personnel Committee, move to approve option B. Do you also need direction, to specify the parameters approach?
No, because you'll have a parameters resolution on your next agenda for consideration unless there are concerns with that approach.
Yeah, I think at this meeting, we don't need to set the specific parameters, but it would be helpful to know the direction if council concurs with the finance committee recommendation regarding option B.
Okay. And, okay.
So I'll make the motion that we adopt option B for the structure of the debt service.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Madden will second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt option B, which we could bring up if folks want to see it. And, yep.
After,
Aldermeyer.
Go ahead.
Can you make sure you're speaking in the microphone?
Yeah. So, are there any risks in terms of additional interest rate costs that we might incur by going with option B instead of option A? That's my only question.
I mean, you always have interest rate risk depending on where the market is, obviously, but as compared to option A, you actually pay less interest under option B because we're maturing more principal quicker.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the Finance and Personnel Committee's recommendation to go with strategy or structure option B, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you. Moving on to miscellaneous item number 4, feedback on draft maps for new tax increment districts 7 and 8. And I believe we're going to hear from Jeff Maloney. Can we bring up the maps, please? Or present, do you have a presentation, Jeff?
Yep,
Or
yeah,
Okay.
we'll go through the maps. Brian's gonna bring them up for us. So I'm Jeff Maloney with Vanderwall and Associates, principal with the company, been there since 1999. Our firm has worked with the City of Middleton Council, Plan Commission, and staff since about creating the first TIF district in 1982. So that was TIF 1, 2, worked on 3 and 4. I was not there for the creation of TIF 1. But as you know, TID 3 was recently retired. It was created in 1993 on a very important date. With the closure of TID 3, it allows us to look at what other areas of the city might go into future TIF districts. So we've always been over that 12% equalized value within the TID, but now we're below. And so we've been working as a staff like we've done over the last 30 years, being proactive and looking at how we can use TIF financing as a district-wide, which some communities don't. They might use more project-specific TIFs, and we can look at that in the future as well, because we'll have enough equalized value to be able to do that. But the TID 3 was, just for a reminder, it was essentially this area, but also it was always downtown and Greenway Center area, the industrial and employment area north of Highway 14. And we've always organized this TIF district around the Greenway, actually created the Greenway with TID 3 funds, which allowed for development of this area, or else it would have been not suitable for development. And, there was flooding still, but it would not have allowed for foundations and industrial tax base. So without the confluence pond and the North Fork, it would most likely have been single family homes, which would have changed your tax base in the long run. We created a document called the Urban Greenway Study, which documents the impact of the improvements that have been put into TID 3 and TID 5. So documenting the economic, social impacts, but also, or the economic and environmental impacts. So the social impacts I meant, but also the economic. So a lot of people think of the social and environmental, but they don't think of the economic. But looking at what the Greenway did was shrinking up, providing land for development, but also the pathway system that went in, which is an attraction for people to use the hotels, employee employee retention and attraction for the employers, commuting, things like that. So that's how we've historically looked at the Greenway system in TID 3. So we included that in this TID 7. So I'll start on the west side and then we'll go to the inset map, which is the one in the downtown. Essentially, this is the area that we think could potentially have redevelopment opportunities in the future, or areas that have yet to develop in TID 3. So as you go at the corner of 14 and 12, that's the area that developed like the IHOP and different things, and it's changed uses, lots of pervious surface. Seems like over the next, remember, this is a 27-year opportunity plan, that there could be different uses for that. So included that, use the Greenway for contiguity, which we can do because those are parcels, up to the north. And then the area in the middle there is the American Girl, the former American Girl factory facility. That will have a CSM, so it won't be the entire parcel, but it'll be the northern parcel that's in the, that'll be probably put into the new TIF district as proposed. There's a couple of parcels north there of 12, which is 13. I think my numbers are different. That's an older map. That's okay. The parcels north of there that have yet to develop by the behavioral health. And then all the way up the Greenway to Airport Road, we have 2 sites that have yet to develop. We included the airport. It's been in TID 3. So remember, any parcel that's in a TIF district could just be there for public improvement opportunities. If this is a blighted TIF, which provides the maximum 27 years of life versus a mixed use TIF, which would only be 20, which we're recommending blighted TIF because of redevelopment. We'll probably need to take that airport out as a parcel because it's just so big. So we need to have 51% of the total land area be determined as blighted, which we haven't done that study yet. I should backtrack a second. This is the preliminary draft. We haven't even started the statutory process yet. So this is lines on a paper and we can change it before we even take it to the JRB. If we do extend the TID all the way up to those parcels which are highlighted, we could do any public improvements within a half mile as long as we specifically write those into the project plan, which is the direction we've gotten in the past from your attorney. The other areas on this one before you change, Brian, are the areas south of 14 by Esser Pond there. There might be opportunities for infill over the next 27 years. There's been discussions in the past about that potentially. And then up by Discovery Drive, that area is actually contiguous across the interchange, and that area is yet to redevelop, might have a higher and better use along the Beltline. Any questions on this map before we jump downtown?
Oh, go ahead,
Okay.
Jeff.
So the downtown map, we can start here. So the 25 A and B are the ones I was mentioning about infill potential by Esser Pond. North High Point Road, 36, 35, and to the south to Greenway Boulevard. Those have never been in a TID, so it's sort of an extension of the downtown area that could have redevelopment opportunities. There's some great uses in there now, but those may change over time. A couple of sites are for sale. That extends all the way to the corner by Capitol Brewery. And then we can talk about Quarry Hill now. Parcels 43, 44, 45, all the way through 48 were in TID 3. So that's why we propose them to be in TID 7 as a continuation of that plan. The the area next to the skate park, there's a parking lot there you can see along Terrace Avenue. That was constructed with TID funds because that's why the entire parcel of 43 is in the TID, because it's all one giant parcel. So we continue to include the quarry in there, to include the reservoir if there's any public improvements that need to be done to that, as long as they benefit the TID, it might be eligible in the future, or anything along Terrace Avenue there. Extending north, we used the one parcel 49. It's the last area on Terrace Avenue, this single-story building that has not redeveloped. Maybe there's a use in the future. 47, 48, there's Vern's old site. 50 is the post office. There's been discussion what the long-term use of the post office is, and then you get into the downtown core. And we had discussions at a staff level of wanting to include downtown Middleton in a TID. It has historically been in since '93, and there's still some improvements that could be done. You've redeveloped your first redevelopment project. I don't know if you're aware of that. That's the Middleton Center. So Old Middleton Center was one of the first redevelopment projects in the community. And it's changed over time with market and building types. We included the whole area, which was essentially called Phase 2 of downtown, which is between University Avenue and Elmwood. Some of those buildings are just, that's your one story. There's a hotel in there, which we know we're not saying that we want to kick the hotel out, but we're saying over the next 27 years, we could see that changing as a different form in the downtown if the council desires and the plan commission desires. Extending eastward, all the way to Parmenter. 64 is the old bank. That was a really important project back in the late 80s to put into Middleton. It really held that corner and created long-term stability of the downtown. Been 30 years, so maybe there's a time to relook at that. We included the public facilities all the way in this building and all the way in the library, mostly for the campus, community campus plan, just in case there's like a, public infrastructure, potential parking, something like that, that might be put into that area. So that's why all that area is included in there. And then there's some historic buildings that are included. The idea is that maybe there's a renovation grant or facade improvement grant, something like that could use TIF funds for historic buildings as opposed to just new buildings. Last area is north of University Avenue, the old corner, which had the PDQ, the apartment building to the north. And then why did we include the church? Just as an opportunity, there might be infill on the east side of it sometime. We could take that out if you don't want to include it. And that's the area of TID 7. So it's a continuation of projects that haven't been completed in TID 3, and then a couple of redevelopments actually. So remember, anything that's in a TID plan, when we draft it, it doesn't have any really power in itself. Council still has to approve everything by resolution, any expenditure, any development project. So it just gives you the opportunity to use any incentive that's in the TIF project plan as a negotiation. Also allows you to use any increment for public improvements. So if you're for feedback of any sites you want changed and also any public improvements you think of, I'd be happy to hear those as well, because those are an important part of the document.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Members, who would like to kick off the feedback? Oh, Alder Schaefer.
Yeah, I thought I'd start out, I had a lot to say, but I'm not going to say it because I had at least a dozen people say it really well earlier today. And I'm glad that people were listening to it. I find it a little just throwaway though, that those conservancy is there only now because it was there in TIF 3 and that was 40 years ago. So I hope there's better rationale, but I personally agree with the people who spoke tonight, and I would really like to see that conservancy removed. And I would strongly encourage the rest of my colleagues to push for that consideration. That's it.
Thank you, Alder Schaefer, Alder Myers, and then Alder Opitz.
I thank you for all of the work that you and all of our staff have put in and Plan Commission for this map. Just to be clear, the parcel number 43, parcel 43, that's the reservoir parcel, correct? Yeah.
Yep.
So just so that my colleagues understand, the water utility is looking at quite a few significant public expenditures over the next decade to deal with the city's growth. I would really hesitate to remove a potential funding source for capital improvements to the water utility, which are made necessary by the growth that we are hoping to promote with this TIF district. By passing on an obligation to the water utility in this way without giving it some recourse, the real issue is that we'll find ourselves in a situation where the water utility must borrow significantly more money than it otherwise would. This is an unfair and undue burden on water utility ratepayers throughout the city. The more appropriate and suitable way to deal with parcel number 3 and the development concerns would be for Common Council to vote and Plan Commission to vote on those projects as they are proposed. But I would really encourage my colleagues to think of our utility. If you've read through the presentation on our capital improvements and on our water utilities master plan, you'd see that the city's growth, both in size and future demand, and what we're going to end up doing when we shift our wells around is such that we've actually really eclipsed our growth projections from the last master plan to a degree which I personally find a little bit concerning. So I really just, I understand why people have concerns about 43 being in this district. Please don't harm the water utility because of those concerns. Vote on those projects as they come before us.
Thank you, Alder Myers. Other comments? Yes, Alder Opitz.
So, and maybe I missed this, Jeff, but if you could, in response to the comments we heard from the public today, there were several concerns about parcel 43 in particular. And also there was a reference to zoning. If you could please clarify that the parcel that we see on the screen, 43, is different from a zoning parcel, if you will. So because of my former job, I happen to know that, and I also looked up the zoning map during the meeting, I happen to know that the southeast corner of 42, if you take a line from that to the southwest corner of 46, that line is the boundary between, I think it was downtown, yeah, MUD, mixed use downtown, versus institutional to the south of that line. Could you please clarify how these TID maps relate to zoning maps, which they are different, and whether it's possible to go subdivide, since the city owns this land, to subdivide via CSM for the purpose of narrowing the TID boundary?
Sure. Well, TID maps don't follow zoning maps.
Right.
They follow parcel maps. That's the only way we can legally set them up. So any change you would want to do to a parcel to follow a zoning, if it's mid parcel, you need to do a CSM or change that, because everything has to be follow a parcel or right away.
Right. And so, I mean, I think that needed to be said very clearly so that people understand that. And, you know, this can affect other properties that you identify too, not just 43, but there's other large ones such as the airport that could have a CSM. In fact, I think the airport used to consist of multiple parcels, but that would be another way to reduce a parcel for the purpose of creating the new TID map. So thank you.
Can you explain what CSM means?
Oh, sorry, certified survey map. So there are
I'm
rules for.
asking for the people who are watching.
Sure, I'll explain. So 43, for example, could be subdivided as long as it complies with our subdivision ordinance that you create frontage. You know, there's certain rules for creating lots that have to meet the underlying character of the zoning and the standards in the subdivision ordinance. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Alder Lorman.
Yeah, so my question would be, for example, looking at the map where you have the creek corridors, section 17, 16, 12, 11, 8, and 2. Keeping these in the TID, it would be so if the city needed to do what? Repair, renovation, maintenance on the corridor, that would be the rationale, because I mean, we're not going to develop these.
Right.
We shouldn't develop these.
Got to be careful with the word maintenance, I think, but replacement of trails, Construction of public infrastructure is perfectly replacement of
Yeah, like
utilities,
say
things like that.
culverts or drainage or dredging or whatever we need to do to keep them healthy and that's would be the reason we would include,
Right.
I'm calling it very green space. Yeah.
I'm gonna let Alder Nelson go just because she hasn't spoken yet other than.
Can you please explain how the TIF could be used for historical buildings?
Well, then there's rehab TIF districts, which are essentially for downtowns, you know, like instead of a redevelopment district or blighted district, a rehab. They're both 27 years. That's a separate type of district. That allows for setting up facade improvement grants and things like that, using increment to improve those buildings. The one thing you have to be careful with is just determining how much increment is created by improvements, because sometimes renovations don't create a lot of increment and also don't necessarily create a lot of jobs, which that might be another goal of the TID.
But it has to be developed as a separate.
No, it doesn't have to be
type of
separate.
TID?
It would be within this whole TIF district. So you could use increment from any of these parcels and apply it to that downtown area.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Alder Myers.
Yeah.
And then Alder Schaefer.
Sorry to take a second bite on the apple. Just, I wanted to express my support of the two alternatives between map A and map B for map A, because the various developables, the various sites included in map A, which could develop in that area, do actually have some unique challenges posed, as does the entire business park by the water from Pheasant Branch Creek. So I really do like map A. In some form, it may need adjustment because of the extra green space.
Sure. And just for clarification, map A is the entire TIF 7.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And for clarification, it includes map B.
Correct. It's just an inset to,
Map B's an
so we can
inset.
see it.
Alder Schaefer and then Alder Nelson.
Yeah, that's just a clarification from Alder Lorman, because it's my understanding when you answered, and we talked at the Plan Commission, that those parks are in there because the district has to be contiguous. You can't break it up, and so therefore you have to have some land that connects every single part. Is that not true?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yes, 18, 19 help those two areas be contiguous. That is true. But also we can use increment to put public improvements on those parcels as well.
Okay. But without them, you'd have to separate this into two different TIFs.
Correct.
Okay.
Nelson, you had another question?
Can the quarry area left as a natural area benefit from the TID?
If there's any pathway, stormwater management, any public improvement that's written into the TID can be applied to it if council chooses that way. If you, again, put it in the half mile, you've heard the half mile public improvement, we need to specifically write what that improvement would be, which you may not know what it is now, but in 25 years, we do go back and look and see if things are in the documents to make sure it's legal.
Further questions for Jeff? Yes, Alder Lorman.
Thanks. I'd really like you to keep the airport in it or find a way that we could do it if we have to break the districts up. The reason being is there is opportunity there. There's land that is in some areas blighted, especially on the east end of the airport. There's a lot of water management throughout the area. It is an area that handles it's a floodplain basically as well. This isn't in reference to, say, the movement areas for aircraft or anything like that. I'm not talking about runway expansion, runway changes, or anything that would have to do with that kind of footprint. This is really more about other economic opportunities within the enterprise, maybe future hangar development, future, we are gonna be doing a drainage study there, coming up here in the future. So if, you said we can't exceed 51% of.
Right. For
And
this
are we
district.
exceeding that right now?
Just estimating it, it looks like it, because that's a big parcel up there. So we created this map just as a working map, and then it kind of came before Plan Commission.
Is there a reason we would not have another district?
It's an option. You could make it a mixed-use district, which then you'd have to have, has to be suitable for a mix of uses, so residential, retail, commercial, industrial.
Following up on Alder Borman's question, so if we wanted to, for instance, fund stormwater improvements out by the airport, and going back to Alder Opitz's comments about a CSM, is that one way to do it?
To reduce the size of the parcel? Potentially, yes.
Okay.
All
And-
those, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
All
Jeff.
the blue rectangles and shapes up there are actually individual, different parcels. Those are the hangars. They used to not be their own parcels, but they are now.
Okay, that explains why they're not on they aren't excluded on the map layer of TID3 that's on the city's website.
Correct, because the
That's the
parcels, I think,
change.
were created last year, I think, or the year before.
Yep. And so thinking about public improvements that don't involve stormwater out at the airport, would those generate any tax increment?
The public improvements, probably not. I mean, it
Because
would have to
it's-
be a business or a taxable entity.
Okay. And then this is a question more for staff. Sorry, Abby, if you would mind coming to the podium. So looking at the parcels that make up the area, the Quarry Hill Conservancy and the area around it. I'm looking at the zoning map. Lost it. And the zoning map does not, I'm just wondering about a comment that was made that these are not properly labeled conservancy lands. And I know they're zoned as institutional because they are city-owned and used for the water utility. For example, number 43, I believe there is a structure on 44 that is a city utility structure. Why are they showing up on our zoning map, though, as established neighborhood? 44 and 45 are showing up as established neighborhood for the future land use instead of conservancy land.
I don't know the answer to that question. I would need to look into it a little bit further. I do know that when the Conservancy Lands Plan was approved, it identified the conservancy area as a smaller portion of 43, 44, and then all of 45. So the Conservancy Lands Plan didn't include the entirety of those parcels as identified conservancy because it was avoiding the utility infrastructure within there. I believe that they're all zoned institutional, if I'm remembering that correctly. But I don't know the answer to your initial question. I would have to look into that.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's not a mistake on the zoning map to show those as established neighborhood. It seems inconsistent. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Alder
established
Opitz.
neighborhood wouldn't be a zoning map designation. That'd
It's
be a
the future land use.
Right.
Right,
just to
that's what I'm
clarify.
saying. But when we've got no intention of using that area in the future as a neighborhood, when it's supposed to be conservancy, I'm just wondering why it's not.
43, 40, so the part of 43 that is south of that line that I mentioned, 44 and 45 are zoned institutional according to the zoning map that's on the website.
Yep. Okay. Any further questions? Did you have a?
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies.
Thank you.
I was coughing.
All
Do I need
right.
to repeat what I said? Or, okay.
Do you need anything from us in the form of a motion or Is this just for feedback? I guess it's just feedback.
Yeah, it's just feedback. The schedule would be to prepare the TID 7 and 8 plan. We haven't gotten to 8 yet.
Oh, yes, I did that to you at the plan commission
That's
level.
okay.
Let's
They're
take a
big.
look.
We're
Let's
only
take a
planning the next 27 years of increment. The schedule is to create the draft plans over this month. And then the first JRB meeting is already scheduled for June 23rd. Now that's the organizational meeting, but we always bring a draft plan to that meeting so they can provide comment right away. And then after that, the statutory procedure would be a public hearing at Plan Commission. So that'll be another opportunity for public input. A resolution, and then a council resolution for adoption, and then back to GRB, who ultimately has the final approval authority in Wisconsin. So we do need some direction on the boundary, so we can prepare that draft plan for the 23rd, which would have the JRB for everyone at home in the audience is a joint review board, which has entities from all the taxing jurisdictions. So the city, the VOTEC, the county, and the school district.
All right, members, any direction for, well, actually, do you have any questions about TID 8, the proposed boundary?
I guess I would,
Dr. Lorman.
yeah, I guess I'd recommend, if we can somehow keep TID 7, expand TID 8, just move that, continue to move it west down University Avenue. If you need to, we can find more real estate in 7, or less, I should say. That matters.
Can you repeat that,
Yeah, I
please?
didn't follow that.
Can you just expand TID 8? Down University Avenue
To the west? Yeah, the parcel on the top, that's the strip mall with the co-op.
Yeah, and just kind of keep going down, and then you would shrink the east end of 7.
There's quite a bit of gap between those two TIF districts. They're not quite connected.
It's half a mile.
Yeah.
Half a mile.
So it'd be quite a few homes to put in that
Maybe a little less.
would just put base value off the tax roll that wouldn't have any probably plan to redevelop,
Okay,
to be the reason.
never mind.
Alder Myers.
Yeah, I'm just looking at TID 8, and remembering that my neighbor actually reached out to me about that site at the intersection of University and Allen. And what one of the perennial concerns on the Public Works Committee when we have pedestrian safety and bicyclist safety come up are driveways on properties that have a lot of traffic into and out where they intersect with multi-use trails. So little bit in the weeds, but I'm really hesitant about adding potentially more traffic to in map 8 parcels 43, 44A, 44B, 44D, 44C, and 45. That may or may not be surmountable, but I just wanted to express that concern with the inclusion of those parcels. I understand why they're here, but that specific intersection is well past its limits already, so.
Is that a motion?
Not at this time, but
Okay.
if somebody would like to make it a motion, I just wanted to get those concerns on the record.
Okay, thank you. Alders, any?
I guess I would just reiterate the comment about using the CSM process, the certified survey map process, to adjust the timeline for pursuing a CSM and how that relates to your schedule with the JRB, I know is problematic because CSM process can take a while, but if that's a way to look at it, I think we should look at that creatively as an option to address concerns in the community.
You would just need the CSM approved before the TIF district is approved.
Understood.
It could be in the same meeting.
Yeah.
Just so the
I'm just saying that might be a way to address concerns if that's the will of the body. It just might be a way to help address those concerns in the community.
And Alder Opitz, are you speaking specifically about the Quarry Hill area or the airport too?
Well, I was specifically thinking of the testimony or the public comments we got today, but it's a broader statement.
Well, I was just thinking if you're referring to these 3 institutional parcels,
That's what prompted my
those
comments.
are, I mean, the fact that they're city owned might make the CSM process a little.
Yeah, well, and for that matter, the airport's city owned too,
Right.
but my comments are prompted by trying to address the concerns that were raised at the public comment tonight.
Alder Nelson.
So, I'm certainly less adept at this than others, but looking at, potential TID number 8 on University coming north and west, it stops before the Willie Co-op. Is there any way to encompass that? That's in my district and that area could really use some improvement, especially the traffic and other things that way. Just wondering if that's if we could go all the way up to Park Street with that. Or what do we have to cut out if we do?
With the intention to improve the intersection, is that what you're thinking?
The intersection and that whole strip mall area.
We did look at it and I think, I don't know the base value, but I'm sure that the reason we didn't include it is because it has a high base value. We were trying to keep the total around 100 million or so. But we could put it in and take something else out potentially, or we could work at a staff level and see what works. And
Alder Myers.
Yeah, so I do know that just west of the co-op at Park, a group of neighbors have gotten together to start the neighborhood traffic management process. So I can see potentially including that to the western portion of the right of way on Park Street. If we're able to do that,
you can spend outside the district.
Yeah.
Or specify.
But those are that's the bound of the traffic that I'm aware of. And then we could offset it potentially by removing parcels along Allen and University.
Other comments? Oh, Alder Schaefer.
Yeah, just in concurrence with my last 2 colleagues, because I shop at Willie almost every day. And it's a nightmare with the traffic as one thing, but that building is also, I moved here in '88 and that building was around. And it's not a new building. They keep putting new facades on it, but it's been reworked and reworked and reworked. And if something such as Willie Street should decide that this just is not working, we're going to move somewhere else, that whole corner would collapse. So if it's possible, I would also advocate for including that.
Thank you, Alder Schaefer.
And,
Alder Nelson.
am I reading into it that like if we lost, for example, parcels 44 and 45, whatever combination to fit this in, that would mean a lot less increment for us, given that 44, 45 could be more housing?
Could we go to TID 8, please?
Am
Oh,
I
yeah, sorry, I was.
wrong about that?
Thank you.
Is that maybe why that was decided that way?
I mean,
Am I asking a dumb question that you
No.
can't even answer?
No, I was trying, no, you're not asking a dumb question. I was trying to think of the, this is the zoning code for that. They might be the same, are they the same zoning on University Avenue? Because that would dictate the density.
Corner, the restaurant and the gas station is zoned in a planned development district that is specific for what is exactly there. So if anything were to change, it would have to get rezoned. We would recommend MUA because that is consistent with the whole rest of the University Avenue corridor, up to Park Street. I think you do bring up a good point about potential for future incremental value. Because if we wouldn't anticipate that the Parkwood Plaza Shopping Center is going to change, there wouldn't be additional increment created.
Right.
Whereas that corner, which already has been proposed for redevelopment recently, is probably more likely to redevelop.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, I had vowed to some of my colleagues not to speak so often, so early in my term, so I apologize. I just want to note that with the Parkwood Plaza concerns that I've heard, that it is not necessary to include the parcel in the TID district in order to still spend on infrastructure within half a mile, right? Isn't that a provision that we have that you can spend outside the district for transportation enhancement purposes? That's what we did with the North.
Yeah, we could put in the document, the intersection improvement and University Avenue contribute to the health of TID 8.
Right.
And then your city attorney would have the ultimate decision on whether he agrees.
Yeah, but that way you don't have to include that high value parcel.
Correct.
Good idea. Thanks.
Sounds great.
And with that, I'm not going to talk anymore.
Bill Burns is.
There's discussion about that parcel. I did look up the base value. It is about 6.7 million. In relation to the 100 million target, there's something about having to stay within 100 million. Sorry. Yeah, so the value is 6.7 million, and just as it relates to the 100 million target that Jeff was talking about, there's not anything magical about 100 million, but I think we were just trying to limit the overall base value of the new TID so that we don't immediately bump up against that 12% limit. We're estimating with TID 5 will be at about 6%. 100 million represents about 1.5%, so we'd be at about 7.5%. If there are adjustments that need to be made, we still do have a fair amount of room to available to us.
Thank you for clarifying that, Bill. All right. I'm not hearing any motions from my colleagues. And I believe one is requested.
I don't know if it's a motion or if it's feedback.
Brian?
It was listed as feedback as we needed tonight, but if the body is ready to make any formal motion, you're more than welcome to do so. As we mentioned before, this will come back to the council once we get, the project plans more fleshed out. And at that point, you still have the opportunity to make adjustments to parcels and things that you'd want to fund in the project plan.
Okay, so members, if you would rather wait, instead of trying to tackle this tonight, sounds like an option. There will be many opportunities. Yes. Abby?
Jeff is too nice to say this, so I'm just gonna comment on one thing, which is once we get the parcels relatively set, we will have to go through a process to set a legal description of the entire exterior boundary. And we really don't want to be changing parcels once we get to that point. Also, the parcel selection will dictate what goes into the draft project plan. This is not required, but Vandewall's practice is that they have the entire draft project plan ready for the TID Joint Review Board meeting. And that meeting is scheduled in consultation with the county, and I believe that ours is scheduled for June 23rd.
Yes.
So you don't have to make a decision tonight, but we will want to bring this forward for additional feedback sooner if you think that there are going to be big changes to the parcels, because that will guide how we write the project plan.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. How do the members feel about taking, this is a lot of information for all of us to digest. Oh, Alder Schaefer, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're probably gonna say what I was gonna say.
Okay, I simply was going to say, do we want to return to this at our next meeting after members have had a chance to think about it? And, please be mindful of the need not to create a negative quorum of any kind, in conversation with your colleagues. Try to avoid that, but we could put time on the agenda in 2 weeks to see if there are any motions that members want to make to remove or divide up specific parcels.
Well, since you asked the question, I will give you my answers. I think we should wait
Okay.
2 weeks because there's a lot of ambiguity still hanging out there.
Okay, Alder Schaefer is in favor of waiting 2 weeks.
As am I.
Any objection?
No objection. I just want to see if there's some way for us to include that southeastern portion of the airport parcel, even if the rest has to go. It's I'm just looking at the water flowage.
Yep. And it looks to me like, just looking again at the DCI map, that is a separate parcel.
See that?
So that is, can we ask staff to look into that option, please? Okay.
And I think also we can go outside the boundary of the map.
Right.
By what, half a mile?
Half a mile.
So,
Yep.
some,
Yeah, in that case, as long as 5 is in, then.
huh? Not for economic. Yeah, so that would make, like, say, hangar development
Do you have a question?
wouldn't be possible.
I just wanted to say that I'm in favor of the maps as they're drawn, as long as we can get in the airport portion that we want. And I really, really want to help to preserve the conservancy area from that, maybe the CSM option, see if we can
Okay.
make it stay conservancy.
Okay, so staff and Jeff, do you have enough feedback to come back in 2 weeks with suggestions for how to make
Sure. Yep, we
all
can do
this
that.
possible? Okay.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, members, I am mindful of the time, but we're all just gonna have to deal with it. We're moving on to ordinances, second reading. Is there any way we can do these all
Yeah, I was
and
wondering.
block?
Any member can make a motion to package any agenda items and do it as a block. That's fine.
Yes, excellent. I will make a motion that we consider items under ordinances 1, 2, 3, and 4 together.
Myers, Myers, second that.
All right, we have a motion by Madden, second by Myers. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the motion to approve all 4 of these ordinance changes in one vote, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to resolutions, we have just one, Resolution 2026-16, authorizing the use of general contingency funds for police station emergency boiler replacement.
On behalf of Finance and Personnel, I make the motion to authorize the use of general contingency funds for the police station emergency boiler replacement.
And I will second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2026-16, authorizing the use of general contingency funds for police station emergency boiler replacement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to committee appointments. These are, I'll say, public reappointments to committees, commissions, and boards. Just a little preface for folks. I've met with dozens of people who expressed interest in renewing their appointments to These bodies, council approved some of those last time because they needed to be. That was the library board and the plan commission. And tonight I ask you to approve the rest of the reappointments. Next time I will have recommendations for new appointments and the remaining few reappointments. Is there a motion?
Myers, move approval of the list of appointments included in the agenda packet.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Alder Crowe, I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Yes. Alder Myers.
Yeah, I'd just like to take a moment to say how lucky we are as a city to have all of these volunteers. And Mayor Hanairo, I'd actually like to take a moment to thank you for a couple of these appointments and these reappointments, because I have worked closely with several of them over the years, and their service to the city sometimes does not get seen to the extent that it should. So being mindful of time, we are incredibly lucky to have someone with Elizabeth Hilton's knowledge and talent serving on our Landmarks Commission. She and I have not always seen eye to eye on specific things on that body, but it was an incredible privilege to serve with her for the time that I was on Landmarks. So thank you, Elizabeth. I'd also like to thank you for reappointing my constituent, Tim Reinhardt, who has a ton of very valuable and frankly institutionally irreplaceable pre-construction experience on the Public Works Committee, and Don Knorr as well. We're really going to struggle without him when he decides he's done. And I'd also just like to take a moment to recognize the chair of the Ped Bike and Transit Committee, Tad Doherty, who has really helped build a better constructive relationship between the Public Works Committee and the Ped Bike and Transit Committee over the 3 years that I've served on Public Works. So thank you for the appointments. I'm going to shut up now.
Thank you. Alder Opitz.
I'm wondering if there's a typo for the Tourism Commission. It's listed as 2025 to 26. And then also Zoning Board of Appeals starts with 2025. Are those intentional?
Those should be, tourism should be 26 and 7 because those are
Right.
one-year appointments. So good correction. And what was the zoning board of appeals?
It just starts at
yes.
2025, but I assumed he was currently a member.
Yes.
Okay.
City Administrator Gatto will make sure those changes are made and reflected on the website when these are posted. All right. So we have a motion and we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the public reappointments to committees, commissions, and boards signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to discussion, updates on committees, commissions, and boards by council members and mayor. We haven't had that many opportunities to meet, but does anybody have an update? Alder Nelson.
Okay, quickly, PRFC has the new recreation manual out. It's really full of information. The classes for the summer are booked with waiting lists and it's really popular. So awesome job on PRFC. Arts Committee, the Art Walk is coming up a week from Saturday. I left shirts in all of your mailboxes. Please, if you can, wear them in a selfie, maybe buy some artwork and send them to me and we'll get them on the Facebook and other social media so that we can get people to come to the May 16 Art Walk. There's a display at the library advertising it. Coming up June 13th is Middleton Pride, so look forward to that.
Question for you. Do you still need volunteers for Art Walk?
We do need volunteers for Art Walk. I left the link to Sign Up Genius on your sheets in the mailbox, but folks can go to Art Walk is on the city website, City of Middleton.
We'll find
Abby's
it.
like,
We've got this.
yeah.
It's
I'm
a
not sure
very-
I saw a link for volunteers on the city
On the-
website.
Oh, not on the website?
Abby will make it so.
Okay, but for folks in the listening audience,
Let's put it on the website.
let's put it on the website. Lastly, Arts Committee is looking for any artificial flowers, whether they're in a whole form or pieces, petals, anything. We're going to be doing a Renaissance fair in October, and we're gonna make head wreaths, and the pop-up Arts Committee needs thousands of fake flowers. So if you have old wreaths, if you have stuff you don't need anymore, bring them in to me if you, and I'll make sure they get to the right place.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Updates. I have one update and one encouragement. The Dane County Cities and Villages Association will be meeting right here in Middleton on the 13th, which is a Wednesday, 5:30 to 7:30 at Craftsman Table and Tap. We'll be hearing from County Executive Melissa Agard. Bunch of mayors are going to be there. Forbes, the backbone of the organization for staff. He does an excellent legislative update, and it just has a lot of good insights. So I encourage members to attend. And then also I encourage you to attend the VFW event that we heard mentioned in public comments at the previous meeting. We did receive an invitation through email, but it was flagged as, spam. But I mentioned it in my newsletter on the 1st, which also may have been caught up in your spam filter. It's a 250th anniversary of the US celebration and a community conversation about service. So I encourage folks to attend. I believe the registration closes on the 13th or the 10th, so please consider that. That's all I had for discussion.
Lastly,
Yes.
Gallery Night Friday, you can see some
yes.
stuff on the wall. These are high school students' art pieces. And there is a great gallery night for
Yes.
this Friday.
And I hope these artworks stay because they are so much nicer than what we had on the walls
Agreed.
before. Okay,
Oh, and the opening of Stone Horse Green's first event is trivia night on Thursday. That starts this
okay,
week.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, any other updates? Hearing none, we need a motion to move into a really short closed session.
Schaefer moves to move into closed session.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Badel second.
We have a motion and a second to move into closed session. Any discussion?
I have to take roll call.
Right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Alder Schaefer,
Here.
Alder Madden,
Here, I think you're supposed to say
Alder
yes.
Baines,
Yes.
Mayor Hanairo,
Yes.
Alder Nelson,
Yes.
Alder Myers,
Yes.
Alder Opitz,
Yes.
Alder Lorman,
Yes.
Alder Crow.
Yes.
Okay, give us one.
All right.